Miss Lindsay presented, and we are about to go into our next plenary session. This one is Small Businesses, Big Ideas.
This session is going to deal with small and medium enterprises and also social enterprises. And while you're talking, I'll hand over to the moderator, Professor Hamilton. Rosie, you're on.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move into this set of presentations as soon as possible because we are an hour and a half behind schedule. So we're going to do some catching up as best we can. So I want to invite the panelists to join me on stage. I know we have Safria Brown. We're waiting on Mrs. Nadine Spencer, and we're also waiting on Robin Levy. As soon as he joins us, we'll kick off.
I'm looking for Robin. Robin.
Okay, we're going to kick off. May I encourage you to take your seats so we can start. And for those of you who are not going to stay with us, if you could take the conversations outside so we could start. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. Okay. Can I welcome you to the second plenary session, Small Businesses, Big Ideas, towards investment in small and medium-sized enterprises and social business enterprises. I want to just start by putting this discussion in some context. The available macroeconomic and establishment data suggests that SMEs and SBEs can in fact accelerate growth and sustainable development if targeted to support the sectors such as education, ICT, healthcare, creative industries. And we've just spent the last hour and a half talking about the importance of the creative industries. A survey, however, of about 800 enterprises revealed that the amount of assets owned or controlled by enterprises in these sectors limit their capacity to expand, export, and create jobs. The survey revealed a Gini coefficient of asset inequality of about 0.76. That's very high. The average annual asset of the smallest firms are about $8 million, compared to the largest firms, about $325 million. Importantly, it was noted that the firms in the creative industries, the one that we've been talking about, has the lowest average annual assets as a group, about $20 million. And it was followed by education and related services, the lowest in the group. That's very telling if we're relying on education to drive growth in the economy. The evidence, therefore, suggests that these SMEs have the greatest productivity advantages and they can facilitate growth. And therefore, it provides important clues as to how to invest in these SMEs and SBs. The survey also provides important insights about the role of psychological dispositions of the business owners. So, the attitudes and the behaviors and so on. These do, in fact, impact profitability and the probability of business loss. So these then tell us that if we want to invest in SMEs and SBs, it is in these areas of building the kind of asset base of these firms, strengthening them, that will enable us to achieve the growth that we want. So our discussion then will focus on the opportunities for partnership in the areas of equity investment, crowdfunding to enable the SMEs and the SBs to turbocharge growth. That's what we're trying to do. And we have a fabulous panel here to do it. Panel is here to do it, and I'll start with the only man on the panel. And Mr. Robin Levy, he's General Manager of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. He's Deputy General Manager of the Stock Exchange. Deputy is essential. Mr. Levy is also General Manager and Company Secretary of the subsidiaries of the Stock Exchange with responsibility for overseeing and expanding services provided by its capital markets. And he holds a bachelor's degree in accounting and a master's in business administration, finance, an MBA in finance, and is also a certified fraud examiner. Please give him a round of applause. We're going to start with you, and then we'll introduce the others. All right? Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Professor. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm always a little nervous when I get introduced. When I get introduced and they reach the part about, Robin is a certified fraud examiner. So I like, Professor, for running them all together very nicely for me, yes. I decided to become a certified fraud examiner because I realized I'd probably never be unemployed. Persons are always trying to commit fraud. Anyway, in case you haven't heard it before, let me say up front, those of you who reside abroad, thank you for continuing to make Jamaica your home and for grappling with us with the issues that will make this country better. So again, thank you. Give yourself a round of applause. All right. You may wonder why a stock market guy is up here talking about small and medium-sized enterprises. Any of you wondering why? Because how many of you here who own stocks wherever you live, traded maybe on the New York Stock Exchange? Show of hands. Don't be shy. It's prosperity time now, right, Senator? Right. Maybe traded on the New York Stock Exchange, the London stock market, the Toronto Stock Exchange. And you're used to these companies being very large companies, having billions of dollars of market cap. The CEOs are always in the news and so on. Whereas in Jamaica, here's a stock exchange guy talking to you about small and medium-sized businesses. Well, why is that? Well, I see my presentation is not coming up. There we go. I like the name of this session, Small Business, Big Ideas. Let's be frank. The largest Jamaican company is a penny stock on the New York Stock Exchange, especially given our exchange rate. Some years ago, could you just forward some slides for me, please? I don't have a clicker. Where? There's no clicker up here. Oh, there is. Oh. Holding on to me, Prof. Thank you very much. Point at the red dot. Okay, very good. The fact of the matter is change is going to come. Whether we like it or not, it's always better to shape the change and guide it than to be guided by it and allow it to wash over you like a tidal wave. We made some decisions years ago at the stock exchange that what we would do is deepen the market by launching the junior market. How many of you here know about the junior market? Yes, a few of you. Had you invested in every stock, the junior market is for companies with looking to raise capital between 50 million Jamaican dollars and 500 million Jamaican dollars. Or in other words, what's that, 50,000 US dollars? Fairly small companies. And the idea was to take advantage of the trends and opportunities which there are worldwide. Worldwide, what's happening is that we have wider income disparity, smaller percentage of the population owning most of the assets. I heard Prof speak to that. In Jamaica, what we decided to do, what the Jamaica Stock Exchange decided to do, was to change the game. What the stock market allows us to do is to make smaller businesses come to the market. We hold them to the same governance standards, the same regulatory standards, the same accountability and transparency so that we tackle the trust issue, which is absolutely key. The usual funding sources when you're starting a business is, of course, you go into your own pocket, you start it yourself. They look to friends, families, and friends, families, and other persons who believe in your businesses, right? And now, of course, we have crowdfunding. I think Safri is going to speak a bit more to that. Then you may go to an angel investor, and an angel investor or a bank to borrow money or to get a short-term investment to move your business up until you hit the next level, which, believe it or not, is going to, if you run your business right, wind up with a public entity anyway, which is, of course, what persons consider to be the pinnacle, the top of the tree. Now, if we are able to get funding for smaller businesses, hold them to the same accountability standards so that they can organize themselves, they can understand what it is to run a company, be properly regulated, and breach those trust issues. Because you all know we have huge trust issues in Jamaica, correct? I'm sure you've heard this before in this session. Then we will actually be a good percentage of the way in growing the economy. And that's the objective after all. You can't have a stock market built on top of an economy that's not doing well. By the way, how many of you here know the Jamaica Stock Exchange was the #1 performing stock market in the world in 2015? Okay. Let me go you one better. Had you invested in every security listed on the junior market, every junior market companies, and they're now household names, the index currently stands at 3,000 and something. It started at 100. So had you invested in every IPO on the junior market, you would have made 3,000% on your money in the last 8 years. I'm going to say it again, you'd have made 3,000% on your money in the last 8 years. On top of, that's just capital appreciation, on top of dividends, and many of these companies have paid dividends over the period. And there were some losers in the group. There were some companies, not everybody's going to be a winner, right? Regardless of what they tell you. There were companies which lost value. Even so, had you even bought those, you would have made 3,000% on your money in 8 years. And that's one of the reasons we're the #1 exchange some years ago and why we are continuing on this drive. What's the deal with the social initiative now? Well, the objective is to open funding opportunities for social enterprises. And we're talking now about grassroots, community-based organizations that may be doing good work. They have a triple bottom line. You guys may or may not know about the triple bottom line. It is not just about making money. It's about the impact the organizations will have on people, the planet, and profits. And Dr. Kadami Naif, who is something of a specialist in this area, has done quite a bit of work on it from the UWI, likes to add a fourth one, which is cultural preservation and upliftment, for lack of a better word. We need better financing for our small businesses. There is too much debt. The first thing everybody does when they start a business is run, go and borrow money. And that's a sure way, well, not sure, but it's a dangerous way to grow your business, just with debt. You need equity, you need that mix, you need that balance. And the idea is for us to have, by next year, maybe not this time, maybe the second or third, the third or fourth quarter, to have a Jamaica Stock Exchange, social enterprise exchange, where we can have, we pattern it off the Brazilian social stock exchange, where organizations have to meet listing requirements. They must have properly constituted, they must be registered somewhere. They must prepare accounts. They must report what they are doing. They must file quarterly reports. If directors or senior persons leave the organization, they have to tell you. Effectively, they have to abide by all the rules and regulations of a listed company. Adhere to the triple bottom line. So investors will know this is not a business which is only about making money. It's also about impacting people and the country. So my time here has been reduced, Prof. I've been trying to keep it short and actually flying through these slides. They are available, though, if you want to get them later on. But just to give you the big picture, this is something we are going to do. We encourage members of the diaspora to go to your hometowns, go to persons who you know are doing good in your organizations, in your communities, who have businesses. They may be maybe employing, the idea maybe to employ young men who are at risk, or to improve a school, whatever it may be, but it has to be something which is sustainable. So it's an actual business. It has a social mission, but it has a business component to it, and you are expecting it to be sustainable and do well. You can bring them to the social exchange, which will be hosted on the JSE platform, get funding, get some accountability, and really tackle that trust issue. And that's why we're here. I look forward to your questions later. Thank you very much.
Okay, great stuff. Well, we've seen the important steps that the stock market is changing. Now, and you've heard about the social enterprises. We're going to hear a little more from Ms. Safia Brown. She's General Manager of the Jamaica National Foundation, and she's the very dynamic and innovative leader of the foundation. It has been established since 1990. Some of you are not aware, and this is a company that is really well known for its social corporate responsibility. Chairman, of course, Earl Jarrett. Everybody knows Earl, one of the dynamic private sector leaders in the country. And since 2008, Safia has managed and overseen this mandate of the foundation, and she's led the conceptualization and implementation of a number of outreach programs. And she's well known for the social enterprise project, the SEBI project. This is a social enterprise boost initiative. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Rosalia. Good morning. Welcome to the land of innovation. Welcome to the land of innovators. Welcome home. This is my 4th time at Jamaica Diaspora Conference, and it's actually my 3rd time presenting. And every time I come, I'm always mesmerized by the continuing commitment of the Jamaica Diaspora to maintain relationships and support the development of this country. So it's really, really good to see that after, many, many years, the commitment is not waning. It's only actually getting stronger. This morning, we're here to talk about MSMEs, more specifically for me, here to talk about social enterprises. Could we get the presentation up, please? Computer's falling. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about the JN Foundation. Okay, can you click slide for me, please? Yeah. Okay. So the JN Foundation is part of Jamaica National Group, which, as you know, is a leader in providing solutions to the local and the diaspora market. At the JN Foundation, we operate primarily to help all Jamaicans achieve their fullest potential. And we do this operating a very clear logic model and results-based framework. Over the years, we have been faced with one recurring question. How do we provide funds to all the effective and worthwhile projects and programs happening across Jamaica? We cannot fund all the requests we get, and we acknowledge that international aid to Jamaica has been on a downward trajectory for over 30 years, and that if we do not come up with a solution, then our voluntary sector and civil society are like sitting ducks. And so at JN, we looked at our core competencies and realized that we would have to merge social goals with business goals if we were to start providing sustainable solutions. The model that we started to look at is known as social entrepreneurship at social enterprise. Does everybody here know what social enterprises are? Yes? Okay, I'm going to quickly go past the video since they want me to save time, because the video really explains what social enterprises are. And I think that you need to recognize that a lot of the work that you're doing in the conversations I've been having with you over the last few days, a lot of what you're doing would classify you as a social entrepreneur or as operating social enterprises. So here in Jamaica, social enterprises come in many forms. What determines whether you're a social enterprise is not your legal structure, it is your reason for being. To be a social enterprise, your company documents must state your social mission, and everything that you do is about fulfilling that mission. Access to affordable financing is one of the biggest challenges social enterprises face. The situation for social enterprises is even more challenging at times, as many come from the NGO sector and are not mentally prepared to manage financing outside of usual grants. The situation is especially difficult for businesses with capital-intensive equipment and infrastructure needs. One of the most well-known social enterprises in Jamaica is the Source Community Resource Center, a JN program which has allowed many locally and from the diaspora to participate in delivering interventions to support growth and development. With seed capital and startup operational support from JNBS, now JN Group, the Source has seen much success over the years. Started as a pilot in Augustown, the Source has grown into a national social enterprise franchise, delivering key solutions in community equity and development across Jamaica. There are now 5 centers, all run by the community in which they operate, all on a path to sustainability, all delivering important and valuable work. The first center in Augustown celebrated 10 years this year. And due to the success of the Source, we designed and in partnership with the United States Agency for International Development have been delivering the Social Enterprise Boost Initiative, or SEBI, whose aim is to create an enabling environment for social enterprises. SEBI provides capacity building support to improve the efficiency and sustainability of social enterprises. We do this through a business incubator consisting of 21 social enterprises across 6 parishes, and an open network which facilitates knowledge exchange between social businesses and business support partners. In addition to capacity building and training, SEBI has also strengthened the marketing and branding of these enterprises. The result is an increase in consumer awareness of social enterprises and their propensity to choose to buy social. The open network activities have also expanded the business and social networks for social enterprises, many of whom would not have had access to these networks. In just 1 year of incubation, at least 50% of SEBI enterprises are growing at a pace which is outweighing their current capacity. This is a great business problem for us to solve. Many of you have been introduced to some of our SEs over the past few days, such as Deaf Can Coffee, whose mission is to affirm young people in their identity as a deaf person, believing in their inherent gifts and talents, taking responsibility for their future, and becoming a leader in their families, communities, and careers. Or JAD Binders, whose mission is to empower deaf and hard of hearing persons to fully participate in the national economy through employment opportunities. JAD Binders has funded its startup and even its losses from the parent company, Jamaica Association for the Deaf. Due to its involvement in SEBI, JAD Binders is now on a path to break even. These are great achievements for them. Or some of you met Shaid from 360 Recycle, who believe that garbage is simply raw material for new products where nothing goes to waste. Developing these social businesses means that the reliance on funding, fundraising, and handouts is being reduced, whilst local change makers are providing important solutions that they are able to take to market and potentially scale. Where an enterprise has a marketable innovation, it is very possible to attract capital from other businesses or venture capitalists. Equity is a good source of funding, especially when it also brings additional technical capacity. But the enterprise has to understand its role in this kind of partnership. 360 Recycle has been approached for investment for its construction material, which could impact the construction business. And with the recognition that the world is changing and that the Generation Xers and millennials are demanding more sustainable solutions to global issues, isupportjamaica.com was created to provide a platform that leverages Brand Jamaica to crowdsource funds to support local development projects. All the research is pointing to changing trends in investments. Millennials are less invested in stocks and more likely to invest in crowdfunding. So the first of its kind in the Caribbean, iSupport is a tool open to all Jamaicans who have a program that adds value to their community and is a direct mechanism to engage young people from all over the globe to become advocates of change for Jamaica. Lacey Ann Bartley from Bartley's All in Wood is exactly the kind of investment millennials are looking for. Her enterprises have a network or following on social media, and she was willing to put the promotional work needed to make a success of this platform. Bartley's All in Wood, one of the SEBI enterprises, have utilized crowdfunding to raise approximately 20,000 US. And yesterday, Neil from Farm Up Jamaica spoke about diaspora impact investment and really about creating shared value. A few months ago, JN Bank launched its Diaspora CD, targeting all of you in the diaspora who wanted to invest. This CD allowed you to get a return on your investment and also contribute to the social enterprise sector in Jamaica by sharing a percentage of earned interest. Access to financing, which enables social enterprises to respond to opportunities in the market, is critical to sustaining the growth and development of the sector. Around 70% of Jamaica's social enterprises are micro-entities with business models that can be scaled with more structured access to financing. So as you can see, social enterprises in Jamaica are financed in a number of ways. Corporates like the JN Group and Digicel Foundation provide seed capital and operational costs. Funds are crowdfunded through platforms like iSupport Jamaica. Grants are also provided in traditional form. Business competitions are another way social enterprises are accessing funds, and financial products specifically targeting the SE sector are currently being developed. Companies like the JN Group continuously innovate to remove barriers to investment and facilitate changing behaviors within a solutions-based economy. And at the end of the day, the only way we here at home are going to be able to facilitate the help and help to drive the growth and development of Jamaica is if we maintain our relationships, both local and with the diaspora, in a way that creates a sense of shared value. The Source, SEBI, the Diaspora CD, and iSupport Jamaica are just a few of the mechanisms that exist to facilitate this relationship so that we can all use business as a force for good. Over the last few days, the SEBI booth outside has seen many of you visiting. We have new social enterprises in there every day. I invite you to go and visit the SEBI booth. We will also, we have a tour tomorrow, a SEBI tour. There are a few spots open. We will be going to visit Def Can Coffee that many of you have seen. We're going to their coffee shop in the morning. Then we're going to 360 Recycle. Many of you met Shaid here. And then finally, we're going to go to Alpha. Karen mentioned Sparrow Martin, who's a teacher at Alpha. You're going to get a mini concert at Alpha. There are not a lot of spaces, so I recommend that you go and register. We're closing registration at 3 p.m., and you can go and register at Jamaican National booth. I want to thank you for your time and for listening, and I look forward to answering any of your questions.
Yeah, that's the SEBI lady. Give her another round of applause. If you haven't been on the iSupport Jamaica platform, please do. It's really great. Bringing social business goals together. Excellent. All right, our next panelist is Nadine Spencer. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Brand EQ Group, Inc. From Canada. Global marketing and communication agency made up of top-level creative professionals from around the world specializing in meeting clients, marketing, communications, and PR goals. She's earned a reputation as an experienced and skilled professional who accelerates strategic growth and brand visibility for leading corporate non-profit organizations and individuals. She specializes in market relations, in public relations, and global communication strategies, and through her coined People Matter concept, which we'll hear about no doubt, has expanded market growth and increased revenues significantly for various multinational enterprises by amplifying their stories to a wider audience. Ms. Spencer was part of the White House Special Advisory Committee on Women's Issues and Marginalized Community under President Barack Obama. She sits on numerous boards championing the rights of education for all women. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon. And my former colleague, when I worked on the White House Special Advisory Committee, when he came to Jamaica last, him says, "Massive, what a guan." So what a guan, everybody. I'm really thrilled to be a part of this session, Jamaica Partnership for Growth, because as an entrepreneur, I understand what it is to really look at partnerships. So I'm going to take you back to how I got to be a dynamic marketer. At the age of 12, my mother migrated to Canada. Just another immigrant experience. She left me behind with a caregiver who was not so caring. And part of my story is that she took me out of school and had me go to Spanish Town to buy Bammy for her. I lived in Mountain View, so you can imagine the journey. She gave no bus fare for getting back. I only had one ticket to go, enough money for the Bammy, and I had to figure it out. But when I got to the marketplace, what I realized very quickly was there was value there. I negotiated with the Bammy woman. She would sell 6 for one price, and I would negotiate that she would give me 8. And then I would take the Bammy that I got from the woman, her name is Althea, and I'd go to another corner of the market and I would package it. I'd buy some parchment, the little brown bag, and I would buy that and go to another part of the market and I would sell my Bammy all nicely packaged for more money, and that gave me enough money to not only make my way back home and get me lunch, it also gave me resources. Thank you. And so that's where my journey into business and marketing is born. And one of the key things about small medium enterprises is this. So a small medium enterprise is a company that is 100 people or less and under 5 million. But I gotta tell you, for someone who starts with nothing and you get to that first million, and when you get to 4, you feel like you're Bill Gates, and you feel that there's nothing small about my enterprise. There's nothing small, because it takes a lot. My mom would say, you have to get down on your knee, pangriata, for Priya, to get the results that you want. And it really is that kind of a challenge. But it can happen. And when we look at Partnership for Growth, I really want to talk about what it is that we can do in a marketplace to take our products and brands global. Now my slider is not, it's working? Okay, awesome, great. So we're here about one hand wash the other. So when we talk about one hand wash the other, it's really about how we work with individuals, how we collectively collaborate with individuals and other companies. Collaboration is really the cornerstone for small, medium enterprise successes on a global stage, because the only way we can really get far to a huge trajectory is to partner with individuals and other companies, because it allows us to extend our reach while maintaining our identity without having to surrender our independence and getting to a global reach. It's important to cast your net wide. When we're looking at expansion, it's important to look at all facets, casting your net wide and looking at all opportunities that's available. Small, medium enterprises that are performing well in the global marketplace, we have 2 things in common. 1, a wide global reach. We establish a market presence, and that presence is based on sustainable competitive advantage. The world really is our oyster. It's our oyster, but we also have to have a look. How do we look? So as a marketing executive and as a marketing expert, I see a lot of brands that make it and a lot of brands that don't. And the ones that really get the message out and get the job done and make it are the ones who take the time to have a point of difference in how we position ourselves and how we look, how your product or service look to the marketplace. So we have to look at what makes us stand out. what's the unique peculiarity, I would say, or unique things that makes us stand out. So last night we were at the Hope Gardens, and I walked in and I thought, here is a great example of a brand strong presence in practice. You walk up and there's the VMBS sign, there's the Grace sign, you go all around. You know, Grace is staying true to our Jamaican platform in terms of the foods that we serve. We have the managed water soup, we have the fish on the cracker, so we're staying true to who we are, but we're also looking good. We're also applying a strategic brand look in how we do it. So it's staying true to who you are, but also applying a structure and a point of difference that sets you apart. And also, one of the key things I want to bring to point is that success is not based on who you know in business. It's not only who you know, but who knows you. So as we're building our business model as small, medium enterprises, we're always focused inwards on what we want to do and getting our voice and our message out there. But it's really important to build a brand on who knows us. So let's look at the importance of market presence. Local individuals, local Jamaicans looking out. What are the ways that we can partner for growth? As I said, look out and cast our nets very wide. Become a market leader. You know, when we are selling our bammies or selling our fish or selling our sauces, how do we become a market leader? I looked at that, there's that one brand, that reggae sauce. You know, they really have become a market leader in the UK because they own their presence, they own their look, and they strive to become a market leader in that industry. Also, is to leverage the diaspora market for springboards of growing our products. You know, as I mentioned, Grace Kennedy does that really well. You know, they leverage the diaspora markets, they go into all the West Indian stores and so forth, and then after we have that influx of people, then people like me and Trevor Massey, we go into the Loblaws, the bigger stores, and we say, hey, where's that Grace coconut water? You know? And so because we're so familiar with it in the West Indian stores, then it becomes mainstream. And the holy grail really is to get your product into mainstream because it's getting it into the hands of everybody. You're growing your audience in a bigger way. So it's to target our local diaspora members and then having it go to mainstream. And most importantly as well is to leverage your top 100 influencers. It's important to know who they are. If you're online, who are the top 100 influencers that we're tapped into? Next, when we talk about diaspora markets, so we look out and then we look in. So as a business owner coming to Jamaica, what are the diaspora members can do in terms of looking into Jamaica? We look for new products that support market innovation in order to stay competitive, and that's very important. Companies like mine, we look for service. You know, yesterday I was coming into the conference center, a young gentleman met me at the door and he says, you know, ma'am, you can't take your drink in. I had a wonderful rum punch from Appleton. And he said, you can't bring that in. And I said, oh, but why? It's so hot. And he said, you know, well, it's the equipment. We have to protect the equipment. And what's interesting, I gave him my card and I said, if you're looking for a job, you call me. Because it's not that he said no because that's his job, but it's how he said it. You know, service is really important in terms of how you relate to someone. And I said to that young man, you give me a call if you're looking for a job because I love the way you dealt with this situation. So being an entrepreneur and coming, thank you. So coming back, it's being open to also hire. You know, today I've got, you know, a camera person here, I've got an associate here. So I come back and I'm interested in investing in Jamaica, in Jamaican labor, and I'm hiring Jamaicans. I'm preparing to invest, and I'm open to investing, and I'm also open to collaboration. And when we look at marketplace, the key is to get the word out for the diaspora members and for us in Jamaica. Is to get the word out. And how do we do it? On social media, through business networking, that event last night and the other event last night, and tomorrow night there'll be another amazing event, Last Lick at Devon House. It's to get, oh, it's tonight, that's right. I'm ahead of myself. Tonight, Last Lick at Devon House. It's to really meet individuals and get the word out. Leverage internet marketing and new media. A big, big key here is technology. Technology is our friend. It is not to be afraid of. Technology will help us in a big way to get the word out. And how do we do that? Websites, computers, social media, online catalogs. It's the way to reach a market that is not within your sphere. Leveraging technology is the vital success to any small, medium enterprise wanting to look forward and grow their business. Because when we look at technology, and when we embrace technology, it's one of the biggest assets in our company, and it's one of the quickest way for growth. We use it to reach new audiences and new markets, and we should always start with the low-hanging fruit. Use Skype, use Facebook, and I hope you're all on Facebook, you're all on Twitter, right? So that's a way, when you have a small and medium enterprise or a small enterprise, is to get your audience expanded, like get to a wider audience. To use e-commerce, and one of these devices that everybody has a mobile device, to use that and leverage that. Because when we do that, we have a way of connecting to a wider group. So yesterday, one of the gentlemen said, be ready. He said, we must be ready. And I love this shot of this, one of our track stars who's ready. So she's ready, she's in form, she's been training, and she's poised, and she's ready to go. Do we know that story? How many of us can relate to this? You get to a restaurant and you look on the menu and you says, I want ackee and saltfish. I don't have that. I want the fried dumpling. I don't have that yet. How about this? You have that, but it's going to be ready in two minutes. That's not being ready. Being ready is having everything on the menu that you put on that menu at that time. And I'm metaphorically speaking about that menu, but in terms of our business, what else do we have that we have listed, but we're not ready? So it's important that readiness, there's no other way about it. We must be ready. Ready, and he's starting, ready to leap off. I know. And of course, being Canadian, because it's a two-way street when we talk about growth partnerships, it's us in the Canadian market being ready also to come to Jamaica and being ready to do business. So the 10 best practices for a small, medium enterprise for success. To develop a business strategy and a business plan, maximize technology, form partnerships, which is why we're here, to establish a go-to-market strategy, something that's turnkey and that's ready to go. What is your best practice? What is in your best practice toolkit? Innovate, which is very, very key. To have a contingency plan. When plan A doesn't work, what's plan B and what's plan C? Product readiness, we just talked about that, being ready to meet expectations in a global marketplace. Also, knowing the competition. I love this picture. You know why? Because he's winning, there's no doubt. But when he looks around him, he's looking at who's coming. And it's really important that when we're doing well, it's important to always look and study and know who the competition is and where they are in relation to you, because that is the only way you're going to grow and stay ahead of the curve. And of course, manage the money. So I'm going to conclude now with my final 3 takeaways. I see you giving me the note. And one is to really innovate. There was a wonderful expression that I read. It says, innovate or die. I have one quick story to share. Years ago, we own a food company, and the economy was just a downturn. The clients didn't have money to buy from us, and we weren't getting the sales. And I pulled my team in, and I said, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the sauces, we're going to consign them to 10 stores. We're going to go in, we're going to merchandise it, and they're not going to pay until they sell the product. So we called 10 stores. All 10 stores said yes. They took the product in, they sold the product, and then they paid us the money, and they reordered. We were willing to take the risk. My mother always said, when you have products, don't let your products sell. Give it to people with good credit, and don't let the product sell in your spoil in your store. So that's basically what we did, And they paid, and we were able to move all that inventory and then grow our business. So innovate, find ways to really innovate, because being innovative is the only way small, medium enterprises can make it. Next, of course, is to show and tell. Show your product and tell your stories and tell it online, because the world is living online. Everyone is looking online. They're dating online. They're getting married online. It only makes sense that we're reaching our audiences online. And last, but certainly not least, is put yourself out there. Put yourself out there in every way you possibly can. Go to the networking events, go to the seminars, go to the sessions, and tell your story online. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I thank you. Jamaica is very ripe to profit from changes on how the world sees us, and we know that when we leverage existing talent abroad and here, and we work together in partnerships, anything can happen. And really, you know, one hand can't clap, as we all know, right? So one hand has to wash the other, and that's how we forge strong, great partnerships that will lead us into a strong, strong future. Thank you.
All right, great. One hand wash the other, partnership for growth. All right, I hope you're ready for the next video that you're about to see, and we'll do that and then go straight into the Q&A. We ready with the video? All right, I was told there's a video to come. Perhaps you could line up in the interim for your question and answers right after. Okay, I'm not seeing the video, so let's take the first question.
Morning, everybody. My name is Patria Kay. I run the country's only commercial candy company. It's called Sweetie. And just so you know, we don't make sour watermelon or blue raspberry. We make jackfruit sweetie and mango and guava, and that's what we do. But my question is really about access to market, because we talk a lot about the funding, and we talk about dreaming big and growing. But as an SME, a lot of us are not ready for Walmart. But we do want to access the US market or the UK market or the Canadian market with the foreign exchange that's critical for the survival of our businesses. What's your advice for entering those markets and not trying to do the Walmarts and failing because we don't have the capital or the resources to do it, but still be able to get in the markets and do it and make a meaningful impact?
Okay. Is a question?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Charles Hyatt Jr. from Good News Jamaica Communications Limited. We are a company that tells positive information and imagery about Jamaica and Jamaicans around the world, from the individual, corporate, and governmental level. What I would like to know is how can companies like myself in media partner with people in the diaspora, companies in the diaspora that are interested in pulling out the stories from the grassroots about positive initiatives, positive things that are happening that are impacting our communities, so that we can have a better image, or an image created, an alternative image created of Jamaica and Jamaicans around the world.
All right. Can we just get the answers in the meanwhile? Those two? Yes, we'll take those two. All right.
Thank you. In terms of the young woman with the candy factory, do you have any candies here? Bring it up. So that's great that you have it here, because you know when you have you should always be on brand, always showing and championing your product. You never know who you're going to meet. But in terms of scalability and not ready for Walmart, so I currently sit on an advisory council committee for accelerating women entrepreneurs in U.S., and the Whole Foods is the head of it. And one of the things we have as a mandate is we have a capacity for having entrepreneurs
who have small specialized items. So you don't necessarily have to scale up to a Walmart level. There is a place in the marketplace for specialized products, and I can certainly share the information with you after, but there's a lot of initiatives and stores in the United States that recognize small, medium enterprise in terms of specialty products that you're not going to do mass scale. Okay.
Sorry, if I could just jump in very quickly. I'm a fan of your product. I'm not a fan of jackfruit, but guava is that's my jam right there. You mentioned not having the capital to go to a Walmart, and of course, I can't add one slide. 10 years ago, you could only find Jamaican tea products in the Jamaican store or maybe a Mexican store, a Latin American store somewhere. And then Jamaican teas came to the junior market. Now you can find Jamaican teas, you can find Cerasee, you can find them all in not only Jamaican stores, but on main supermarket shelves. I'm sure all of you can vouch for that, right? You can find your Cerasee and your Busy and your, right? Caribbean Dreams, it's the same company. Now, there's an easy way to scale up as long as you're running a professional business, you have a board, you're meeting, you're well organized. Float a bond, raise some equity. Every single, with one exception, company which has come to the junior market in the last 9 years has been oversubscribed, some by 3,000, 4,000%. There's money looking for a home, they're looking for a business like yours to invest in. Organize yourself and talk to me afterwards. Get you the money.
All right, we'll do one last round of questions in the interest of time. So if you want to have questions, if you have some questions, just have it now, and then we'll go right into the video and wrap up this section.
Hello, good morning. My name is Crystal Page Robertson. I'm the Executive Director of Cornerstone Jamaica, a nonprofit based out of Westmoreland, and also the Director of Marketing for Corporate Transport Services, a multi-vertical organization in Jamaica. I have a question because I see women on the panel, and this is something I hope it speaks to other women that are here. I noticed that, do you have any advice for working in Jamaica, which can be kind of like a patriarchal, patrilinear society? Do you have any advice for those of us who are young women that are savvy, that know what they're doing, kind of demanding and commanding respect amongst a culture that kind of is patriarchal in nature?
Okay, question.
Thank you.
All right, yes?
Good morning. Douglas Reed, retired basketball coach, now living in Kingston. I can't help but observe that most of the folks coming from abroad, one of the persistent questions they keep asking is, how do we get involved? How do we invest? And most panels so far are vague in their response. Today, I'm glad that you're not. I am quite impressed with your presentations. However, the question lingers. Are we asking the diaspora to invest or to sponsor? I think we need to be clear on how they can do either. The other question I have is, we have great ideas floating around many quarters of Jamaica. How do we bring those out and help them monetize those ideas? They lack the vision, the knowledge on how to go about that. Is there a vehicle available here, especially in the social development? Is there such a vehicle that people can come to you with their ideas and you say, maybe this is how you should go about it?
Thank you. And the last question.
Howard Francis, I'm an accountant that specializes in regeneration, also working with social enterprise and SMEs. My concern was listening to what was said of assistance from the stock exchange, an additional introduction of red tapes. SMEs hasn't got financial advisors, they haven't got marketing director, they've got one entrepreneur who has to be everything. So please remember, when you're asking for them to be compliant with larger companies, that they're not overburdened with quarterly reports, they're not overburdened with audits, Maybe they can do an internal examination instead. And so some of those red tapes has to be minimized because the entrepreneur has to spend all his time or her time selling and developing their product. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll ask each of you to respond and do a wrapping up at the same time to save some time. And I want to point Safia to the question, not necessarily to start, but for the women advice. Lean on you for that one.
Then I'll
you can
start.
Then. Yes.
So those are some really interesting questions. So as was once a young woman, apparently I'm not anymore. I keep trying to raise the limit of youth to trying to get it to 45, but nobody's taking me on at the moment. But, you know, there are two things that I think are really, really important. One is you have to be authentic about sort of who you are and how you communicate. You know, don't try and become like a man. Don't try and become like another woman out there who's grappled power and done it well. You know, be clear about who you are and how you communicate, and hold true to that, and being an effective communicator is about being an authentic communicator. And the other thing is be very, very clear about what you stand for. Because in this world, when you do go up to battle, people are going to try and sort of knock you off that position of what it is you're here to do and achieve, and you have to make sure that you hold that very near and dear. And that's what I would say is how you navigate a patriarchal society, and do it in a way that you still feel good about what you're accomplishing and what you're doing. In terms of the invest or sponsor, one of the things that I spoke about with social enterprises is that social enterprises are really something that allowed you to create shared value. And shared value is something where we both or we all benefit. We see social enterprises as an avenue for anybody interested in the development of Jamaica to become invested in Jamaica. And as you know, there are lots of different ways that you can invest. We spoke about some with I Support Jamaica, but some of it is also the technical expertise. Petra K mentioned the market linkages. Market linkages are another big one. So it's really about finding that area that you're passionate about, and for me, I would always prefer an investment. An investment isn't always financial, but it's sort of a psychological and emotional investment. I'd always prefer that because that's more long-term than just a sponsorship. A sponsorship is something that can be very one-off and not develop these kind of deep, engaging relationships. And then the network. I mean, there's a lot of great incubation programs happening in Jamaica. You've got the Social Enterprise Boost Initiative, which I mentioned earlier. You've got the Branson Center of Entrepreneurs. You've got the Jamaica Business Development Corporation. You've got lots of incubations that are happening, Startup Jamaica, for different areas. So I would say go and look at what these incubators are doing, or accelerators, depending on what stage you're at. And finally, in terms of the red tape, one of the things with social enterprises is that we don't believe that the social exchange is going to be for all social enterprises. What we're trying to do is make sure that we create financing opportunities for all social enterprises. Some may only stay on crowdfunding. Some may continue to focus on grant funding. Some might decide that they're ready to scale and it's time to go onto the stock exchange. The point is that we're trying to create that enabling environment so that any social enterprise can develop itself the way it needs to and access money the way that's best for it.
Okay, please give her a round of applause. Let me invite Nadine.
Yes, the first thing I want to comment on is the money, because you know the money is important, and as that gentleman states that when you're a small company, it's one person doing 100 things. You're the seller, you're the marketer, you're the financier. When someone asks you for a statement, you're like, what is that? How do I even begin to pull it together? But remember, when we're looking for funding, currency comes in different forms. You know, there's the tangible cash, and then there's partnerships. You know, you can barter, you can look at other ways of getting money. You can trade services, you can trade services and look at different organizations that maybe it's a microloan, maybe it's a smaller amount of money that you're getting to start. And not only that, but leveraging what you have to make it go bigger and wider, you know? So that's you know, don't just look for the big $500,000 loan or the big loan. Start with the small amounts and really look for currency in other forms of than just the hard cash. In terms of the woman with the patriarchal society, listen, it's a tough thing when you are dealing with men on a certain level, and the higher up you go, it's fewer women, and it's very patriarchal. But you know, it's important to have your messaging down pat and know what it is you're going in for. You know, have 3 key messages, and you stick to that all the time, every time. You do not deviate from that. You hold focus, and you shift the focus away from, you know, you're beautiful today, or, you know, what you're wearing and all of that, which is what happens a lot to women, but stick to the reason why you're there. The gentleman who mentioned branding, I can't stress enough the importance of market presence and how you look to achieve what you need, your objective. The moment you walk in the door, someone's going to make an assessment. They're going to look at you, they're going to make a judgment, even before you've taken your product out of your bag. So it's important to have consistent messaging in terms of how the product looks, how it's positioned, the collaterals you bring in, and the overall picture. There's a lot of resources online. If you don't have money, Google is your friend. It really is. When I say to leverage technology, there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of incubators, and she mentioned the Branson School. Excellent, excellent organization. But there's a lot of online e-courses, there's a lot of online platforms. Leverage that. Really make technology your friend in all areas, and you will not fail.
Great, thank you. All right, Robin, last one.
Well, it's great to be the only man on this panel. I have to tell you guys, you should envy me. Not to mention they are brilliant in their own fields. So I won't therefore touch the patriarchal society at all. My boss, by the way, is a woman, and she's hosting a session this afternoon. Those of you who are interested in hearing more about how to list on the exchange and what the stock exchange is doing, please stop by this afternoon. I think the session is at 2 o'clock. We're also going to be ringing the bell to close the stock market today in honor of the Diaspora 55. All of you are welcome to come over to the stock exchange. It's walking distance from here. It's a nice warm day though, so maybe you want to take a shuttle. For the gentleman who spoke to investing or sponsoring, the answer is yes, both. Frankly, we need to get past the age of just having our handouts, yeah, and waiting for persons either here or abroad to send money, which has no return, no accountability. So definitely you can sponsor things to get them started and off the ground. The failure rate of new businesses is high, we know this, but what we're really wanting to move to is investment, where you will actually get accountability and a return on your money. So it's not a handout, it's an investment. And that's what the Jamaica Stock Exchange is all about. And it is definitely not about just having that one person who is doing 100,000 things. You need to get beyond that if you're going to scale up and you're going to get finances and you're going to get serious about your business. All investors look for 3 things: good product, good team, not just one person, God forbid a bus hit you down tomorrow morning, and good traction. And so we encourage you to look for those things if you're scaling up your business. Welcome you to this session this afternoon, also here, hosted by my boss, a woman, Mrs. Marlene Street Forest. Thank you.
Please give the panel a round of applause. Excellent. Thank you very much. By the way, organizers, you got the gender balance correct. We're going to go to the video, but before we do that, so you can line up the video for us, Minister Babsy Grange has an important message. And as she comes up, I'll just say to my sister, there's an organization that's trying to build sisterhood in Jamaica, very new, so you can see me after. All right? Good.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, within the context of promoting Brand Jamaica, I just wanted to announce and to provide some details about Jamaica House, London 2017, Indigo 2, O2 Arena. And that will be the official hospitality house of the Jamaican delegation at the IAAF World Athletics Championships. And as some of you may be aware, Usain Bolt On this occasion, it will be his final appearance in competitive track and field. And so Jamaica House takes on special significance on this occasion as he exits the stage, the world stage of competing in track and field. And so the diaspora is invited to come and share in that wonderful experience. The facility will be open to the public from midday every day from the 5th of August to the 13th of August. And we will have nightly entertainment featuring such artists as Ziggy Marley, Portage, Luciano, and there's a long list. I just want you to make a note that you can send your queries to this email address, jamaica55secretariat@gmail.com, and we will provide you with all the details on Jamaica House. The website, jamaica55.gov.jm, and the Jamaica High Commission in London is available to provide you with additional information or to discuss with you your involvement. And the High Commission's number is 011-44-207-823-9911. And so we are inviting you to join us at Jamaica House, Indigo 2, O2 Arena in London. And the hospitality facility is a collaboration between my ministry, the Jamaica Tourist Board, and the Ministry of Tourism. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we move to the next panel, please, you can take a break. We're going to move quickly into the other group. So we'll have the video, and the video will be playing, but you can feel free to take a break, and then we're going to move right into the next section. Of course, tomorrow is Diaspora Day of Service. More information, you can get it at the booth at the front. The coffee break is outside, but we're not taking a formal break. All right? Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, welcome back. We just closed the session for this morning on small business, small, medium and social business enterprises. Lots of discussions there on investments, opportunities to making money. One of the calls was make technology your friend. And we also had presentations from the Jamaica Stock Exchange on giving updates on investment opportunities, especially on the junior stock market. It was a very interesting session, and I'm sure a lot was learned.
Yes, we certainly learned a lot. We learned about social enterprises, what these are, and these, I think, are a win-win. So what it is persons get to make a profit while solving some human or environmental issue.
Absolutely.
And a website that would be useful is SEBI, SEBIJM.com, where persons can actually look at a number of social enterprise initiatives that have been established in Jamaica, and members of the diaspora can also see how they can support these.
And we've been mentioning the marketplace since Monday, Lorraine, and the smell of coffee. And I think there's one such social enterprise here.
Defcan
Coffee.
Right.
Definitely.
All right, an announcement by Minister Grange just before we wrapped that session that the Jamaica House will be established at Indigo 202 Arena in London as the official location for the Jamaican delegation to the World Athletics Championships in London. And members of the diaspora over in the UK or members who will be attending the championships, even Jamaicans, are invited to visit Jamaica House in London. It will be open at 12 noon each day from August 5 to 13.
And this takes on special significance for us as Jamaicans because Usain Bolt, the greatest track star,
the greatest,
the
legend.
The legend
Yes.
to the world.
To the world.
He will be doing his final race at that event, and it promises to be an excellent event. The Jamaica House promises to be a wonderful place. So if you can make it, please do. This is a moment in history.
It is. And it's fitting as Jamaica celebrates our 55th anniversary of independence.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we're now going to be hearing from one of Jamaica's creative individuals. Theo, you will be speaking with Joan Webley.
Yes.
So we're standing by for that.
All right.
We never get the cutaway before.
Hello. Theodore. Yes. Nice to meet you. I'm Joan. Webley, no Gordon. 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right. I am here with Miss Joan Webley. And she is going to tell us a little bit about her experience here at the Diaspora Conference and some of the things that we really should be getting excited about.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, Theodore, and to JIS for this coverage. I think it's excellent that you're here and making sure that those who are not physically here are able to see what's going on as well. Still here. I am here wearing many different hats. I'm an attorney. I specialize in intellectual property rights. But I'm also head of advocacy for the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association. I'm the local convener for the Jamaica Music Conference, which sees a heavy diaspora impact and involvement. So this morning's talk was really, really interesting to me, the creative industries, creative economy conversation. What's there to be excited about? What's exciting to me is the fact that the diaspora is obviously very active and engaged, that they're interested and wanting to play a meaningful role in us moving forward.
Absolutely.
I think the diaspora is going to make all the difference. I was the diaspora for a long time. I'm now what you call returning resident for quite some time now. And I genuinely believe that the diaspora, their outreach, the capacity that they can give for outreach and development is so far underutilized.
Utilized at the moment.
Absolutely.
But one of the questions that kept on coming out are what are some of the concrete ways in which the diaspora can contribute? So are there any such ways you can tell us about right now?
Absolutely. Okay, so one concrete platform, as I'd mentioned before, that I'm a part of is the Jamaica Music Conference. It's in its 5th year. We're celebrating 55 years now of Jamaica.
So you get one of the 5s.
So the Jamaica Music Conference is in its 5th year.
Right.
And we see this as a critical, practical way for the diaspora to become engaged in a meaningful way in developing the Jamaican music industry. How so? Just very simply by the first step of forming a workable network.
Okay.
We at present have really no concrete idea of who the Jamaicans are, where they are around the world in the Jamaican music industry. And in entertainment in particular, it's always about who you know. It's a lot about who you know.
Definitely.
And where they are. And I mean, the kind of dots that need to be connected and the meaningful rewards that could be brought back to upcoming artists, to develop an unclaimed royalty pool. There's so many different ways that we see our diaspora being able to play a key role. I'm an intellectual property lawyer, so even just keeping an eye out for where our brands are being infringed in different territories,
there was
our diaspora can be our eyes on the ground.
All right, so if intellectual property is being infringed, this is the sort of stuff that you would handle.
And I would be, it's not even just for me to handle because it's a Jamaica-wide issue. You know what I mean? Jerk, for example, many people, I actually used to work at the intellectual property office during the time that Jerk became protected as a geographical indication. Nowhere else in the world should be able to sell jerk without it authentically coming from the Jamaica Jerk Association.
Right, and we're making that sort of thing available to people that they can brand it Jamaican as well.
Absolutely. And so we want vigilance on the ground, so people need to keep their eyes out in their countries and let us know when that's being infringed. Right?
Absolutely.
There's so many other ways.
Absolutely. All right, we had Miss Joan Webley with us, and she was very excited, and I hope the excitement is very infectious.
Can I tell them where to stay connected,
Absolutely.
please?
Really quickly as the session begins.
Very quickly. A lot of information, a lot happening in the diaspora. If you can connect at Nanook Online, NANOOK Online, or at Jamaica Music Conference, or at Level Up Jamaica. These are some of the few ways, but there's a lot happening here in Jamaica. If you're a diaspora watching, so come back home or stay where you are and stay connected.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Ms.
Theodore.
Webley. It was awesome having you.
Thank you.
All right, we rejoin the main stage now as the session after the picking up from the coffee break begins.
Excuse me. Right, so I think I have everybody's attention now. Okay, so today we're going to have a conversation on, driving economic growth through tourism and question the role for the diaspora in all of this. Now, one of the things we know about our tourism product is that it's been the real driver, or one of the main drivers of our economy for the past 20, 30 years, or even more. And what we're seeing now is that this is looking to get even better when we go forward. If you listen to this minister that is coming up shortly, I'm sure you will think that tourism never existed before, right? Because the way it's doing right now, the things we're doing with tourism right now really sells or, sends a signal that Jamaica is going to be flying very shortly. So we may be walking now, but we expect to be flying shortly. So we're at the Diaspora Conference, and we know that the diaspora loves to play a role in the development of Jamaica. So the question is always going to be asked, what is the role of the diaspora in our future? So we have a panel here today that we expect to give you a look into the future. And how we're going to go about this is that we're going to have, this session is for about 1 hour, and what we're going to do is to have our presenters give about 5 to 7 minutes. Of the 3 presenters will go 5 to 7 minutes, and the minister has asked for extra time, so we'll give him 15, right? Now, before we get into the panel, and some of these guys need, no introduction, and so I'm not going to waste, let me not call it waste time, I'm not going to use the time, introducing them, right? Because they need no introduction, and their bios are actually in the packet that you have. So you can, take a minute to read it up. But what I would want to do is to tell you something you don't know about the Minister of Tourism. So he's been probably about a 10-time MP by now. I'm just kidding you. But he's sort of, a 5-star general? A 7-star general, right? 7-star member of parliament, right? And he's been the tourism minister more than once. The thing you don't know about him, and I didn't know, is that he's a very good domino player. So for those of you in the diaspora who engage him, just ask him about his domino skills, right? I honestly sat with him one night, and I was worried at the start that I was going to get some 6 loaves. But it turned out that he helped me out, right? So he saved me more than once from getting 6 loaves. And unfortunately, we didn't give any. But what I do know is that he's a very good domino player, and you'd want to engage him if you see him anywhere. And what I realized, too, is that if you invite him somewhere, he'll show up. So if you hear that he's in the diaspora anywhere, just invite him over and he'll come play some dominoes with you. All right, so we've used up all the time for that, right? So I'm going to start with the presentations from the panel, and I'm going to leave the minister for last because, he wants the big time. So I'm going to start with Mr. Edward Ray of the Rasta Indigenous Village. The other presenters you will see are Dr. Andrew Spencer, and Mrs. Nicole Madden-Gregg, and the minister himself. So without further ado, I go straight to Mr. Edward Ray.
Yeah, man, blessed greetings. You know, when I was coming here to speak, I was thinking about how strange this is going to be, because as Rastafari, one of our primary role is to burn fire on government. And I was thinking to myself, you know, that boy, when they asked me to do this, you know, I had to start, you know, say, boy, let's speak the truth, nothing but the truth. So help us the Almighty. And then as I go into the speaker room, I buck up Delano telling me that, listen, don't burn no fire upon the diaspora. Right? So I promise that everything I will say here will definitely represent a positive outlook on, because I'm asked to speak about community tourism. And to go first, the first thing I don't like is being called Edward Ray. My name is First Man, and probably that's why accidentally I'm here first, right? But it's about this presentation. Why? Why would I connect? Why would I feel comfortable doing this presentation to the diaspora? How does that connect to community tourism? And what is sure is that the diaspora cares, right? That's the important thing. And that's the space that I would want to speak from, because the people who are a part of community tourism, we don't get much highlight. So the reason why we do it too is because we care. We care about the environment, and we care about what goes on in communities that are really facing a lot of challenges. So my presentation is about investing in home, right? This is our home for true, and we are happy that the diaspora is here to do that. So strengthening the capacity of community to preserve, protect, and promote those 3 Ps, right? To promote a sustainable way forward is very, 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 very important to us. So if you can move it along for me. I am from, are that my views? Yeah, no, please, I'm not going to pretend. I've never done this before. Point on the red dot. Which part is it there? It's not the camera dot. Oh, the one with the other. All right, cool. Yeah, so be patient with me. I'm representing the people, you know. You know that the people don't get much chance like this. So be patient. All right, cool. All right. So that's our logo, Rastafari Indigenous Village. Oh, I need to go next way. Hold on there. So Rastafari Indigenous Village is really a community that we call it a working village. We don't think that people should come into communities just to look and take pictures, right? Like we are just an object. We think that we should produce. And the idea of Rastafari Indigenous Village is a working village where the people who are working there are owners of the space. It's a registered limited liability company, yes, and what it does, it really umbrellas these individuals and they become the space itself, right? So in this very short space of time, it's going to be difficult to explain all of that, but our purpose is to bring something else to tourism, because the Rastafari word for tourism is tourism. Yeah, I never know that, don't. And why we say that is because we don't want something that prostitute the land every time one hotel or bill. Them just push down all of the special herbs and there's just nowhere to keep them. And as a result of that, we came in there to address that, because like parrotfish and all of the other things that are dying, we are also faced with extinction every time you move the herb, every time you cut down a coconut tree. So that's why we came into it. Of course, red dot. Wrong way. All right. Bear with me, man. May I come? Of course, we needed an interpreter. So Rasta Village have really beautiful women. Arlene McKenzie. She was a person who actually carried us through understanding the language of government. And I think community need that, because government talk somewhere where we don't necessarily understand, but we got an interpreter, so it worked. Yes? Productivity. Drum will never ever show to be a good business plan, but what are we doing? We are using it to heal the earth and to ensure that our culture is preserved. You see that herb where stand up beside the bridge, that is Search My Heart, indigenous and endemic to Jamaica. And we are presenting those to people to ensure the uniqueness of Jamaica. Of course, the youths in presenting and engaging all of the visitors is very, very important as well. Yes, and a chocolate tea that Virgin there make. Diaspora people don't drink none for to come. Well, people of all over the world is experiencing chocolate tea in the space, right? that I am not so important. It's what is in my hand. You see that thing in my hand? It is about that spiritual journey that people are on all over the world. So I hear that there was a session on marijuana. Yes, Rastafari is about that as well. So, yeah, and we do have an umbrella space where all of our products that we make are there. But moving forward now, the journey, this is where we start to big up the government. It is really and true that the government has done almost, in some cases, a lot to ensure. And I am saying this because I want people to recognize that if you invest in community tourism, it also has institutional support. This is very, very important. We're talking about the fact that there is a community tourism policy, which is now white paper. I hope I said that right, you know. I saw it, Minister? Okay. Where the government is actually looking at how this thing is really going to work, right? There are a lot of agencies, for example, JSIF. JSIF gave, and through an initiative with the World Bank, we got $20 million, you know, so they had them for clap for that. That very, very important. And not just us, but other groups, Maroons, yes, Bluefields, country style tourism. So people, there is institutional support. All right, Delano? All right, cool. So there is institutional support, and we really, really give thanks for that. But also, what Jamaica has been doing also is connecting us to international people. So, for example, Rastafari Indigenous Village, a community tourism entity, we have a contract with TUI that move 51% of the world tourism. Yeah? And normal people around, we don't really give a contract, you know. But now we have a contract with, which means that we are export ready. You can't clap for that, you know. That, yeah, man, I think that for clap for. Yeah, man. So that's very, very important to the journey. You know, I'm moving on. You can't help me? Okay. But the essence, oh, see, it's not me. Even the professionals, it don't work. But. All right, but the essence, what is most, yeah, that's a right, that's a, yeah. No, next one. What is most important to us is purpose. Why are we doing this? We are not in it for branding. We're in it for a standing. What is it that we represent? The people who are traveling now, they want to know that you protect the environment. They want to know that you are connected to the ecosystem. And they want to ensure that their money is spent in a way that ensures that it provides. So I want to just read for you what Philip Schooler, the leading economist of the World Bank, he said many things. But he said the generation that's getting older and traveling less like cruise and all-inclusive, the younger generation, the millennials, are looking for more authentic experience, learn how to cook Jamaican food, as well as going to the beach. There are new types of products and a lot of opportunities. And he said that adding more tourists or how visitors are making arrangements on their own with the introduction of Airbnb and TripAdvisor. Now, this was in the Observer, June 23rd. And he said a lot of things that was showing clearly that if Jamaica don't move into this direction, we are going to have very, very serious problems. Now, some of the communities that we are talking about, you can prove it for yourself. You have the Charlestown Maroon, that have the Portland Valley River Walk. You have Stia. Anybody know about these places? In the Coptic country. That is their preserving. That is our Jamaica reserve for plant species, for animals, right? You have people in Bongazil. They just got they're over there and they just got their tourist board license. You can't clap them in the car. That's a hard work for community people who do not have the resources. And I think Rastafari Indigenous Village and Bongazil are the only two out of so many that have actually had theirs. So it's really, really a great achievement for them to do that. And you have the Bluefields, and you have Diane McIntyre Pike, who is doing the community tourism, which is taking people into the daily lives of people. That is something for clap about too as well, most definitely. Enough clap may I get down. All right. Yes. So, in coming close to the end of my presentation, next one. One up somewhere. We wanted to, the next direction. We wanted to basically not speak about, as Delana said, burn no fire, but we wanted to ensure that whatever obstacles we have, we look at these obstacles, you know, finding? We look at these obstacles as opportunity. We look at these obstacles as opportunity. And we are convinced there are statistics to show this. I would give every government person a book called The Tipping Point. It's very important to read that book. I don't know if anybody ever read it before, but if you do, you should read it again. And it speaks about my number one concern is garbage. In every first world nation, garbage is a business. In Jamaica, it's a way to be nasty. So we are urging all of the diaspora people who are living in these first world nations who see that it's not just the pretty shoes should come back in the barrel, but the practices of the first world nation in how they manage their garbage system is very, 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 very important. We are convinced that all of the crime that we are facing is because the people are taking on the image of the environment. Yes? And as a result, we think that that should work. All right? And then we are looking also at the fact that I am disappointed that so much more of the government agencies are not out there. Because like SDC, they recently have something called the Local Economic Initiative. If people are looking to support, you could really go through the SDC because they are in touch on the ground with all of the economics work that are going on within the community. A bright spot that for Jamaica government, for person who bonfire, and remember me tell us that SDC is doing that work. JSIF, TPDCO. So if you want to invest, these opportunities are there. The time's short, but we have to start merging the cultures together. Reggae music, events, all of these things are there where we can merge them together. We can't do it, but really and truly, what speaks to community tourism is because now through the Jamaica government, there is one more down. You see that in not take long, about little time. If I can just play that something, it show you everything. You see that font size, exactly like Jamaica Tourist Board thing. When you look at it, we were allowed as community enterprise to use that. No, the next one down. I play it if I play. But if you look at that, you will see. Yeah, it's a video, you know. But if you look at it, you will see that Jamaica is giving support to this. So if you do have your money and you want to spend amongst community tourism people, it's not just that we are out there by ourselves. We really do have support from the Jamaican government. I say so for true, you know. And as a result of that, we think you should do it in confidence that community tourism is the future, definitely, of this island. Cool.
Thank you very much, Edward. First, what are you first, Rasta? First man. All right. First man. All right, so very good presentation. Again, we're seeing Jamaica is not just sun, sea, and sand. It's much more. And I'm sure the other presenters will get there too. So the next presenter is Dr. Andrew Spencer, Executive Director of the Tourism Product Development Company, TPDCO. So over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, you realize that first man is a hard act to follow. And I want to assure you too that following first man does not mean that I'm second man. In fact, it really doesn't mean that. But I thank him for his presentation. I see, can I do it from here? What? I'm not seeing but I'm not seeing the slide itself yet. Okay, I'm being asked to exercise patience. I was happy to hear First Man mention, though, that one of the entities coming out of the Ministry of Tourism that he sees and that has been helping with the thrust is the TPDCO. And so our mandate is to ensure at all times that the product is at a standard that we can all be proud of in the international space, and the diaspora can feel that they can be a part of. I am going to All right, great. There we go. All right, so you would have heard before that we are operating using 5 pillars to drive the thrust of the Ministry of Tourism, and that includes new markets, and that's to increase visitor arrivals, new investments through increased economic impact, new products, which is where we are particularly interested at the TPDCO, new partnerships, and that is certainly where you come in. And the presenter to follow will deal with issues related to linkages between tourism and other industries, and indeed ways in which you can get involved. Human capital development is also a key area that we look at, and a part of that is a new thrust through what we call the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation, as well as the Craft Development Institute, because we feel that the people have to be ready for the investment that is to come. So the role of TPDCO. You would have heard First Man mention our assistance. One of the things we do is to ensure that there is a standard, and a part of that is to, on behalf of the Jamaica Tourist Board, engage in the licensing and ensuring that we are at a minimum standard with our product. And so that involves some of the training we mentioned, product quality assessments, making sure that what is promised is delivered through what we call destination assurance, which I'll speak about in a little while. And so destination assurance. We've recently launched our destination assurance councils in our resort areas because we feel that what we want to have, and the minister will speak to that, is a different 3 S's. Not just sun, sea, and sand, but to have a safe, secure, and seamless destination. And so the Destination Assurance Council is designed to coordinate, to pull together all these elements that provide a guarantee to our guests. A huge part of that is our visitor safety program, and the visitor safety program, recently we deployed an additional 100 district constables, and so now we have 200 district constables spread over our resort areas, an improvement of the 77 that we had in terms of coverage, and we're happy to present our newest district constable. As you clap, you may, our newest district constable on the screen, our minister himself, who is driving the process. And you'll see as we have supported the thrust, not only through the deployment of individuals, but bicycles and other things that will enable the mobility. So the deployment, as you will be able to see, is in Ocho Rios. We have a total of 44 district constables, Runaway Bay as well, that area, St. Anne. Portland, 21, Kingston, 13, Montego Bay, with our largest room inventory, 50, 22 in Falmouth, 50 in Negril, and 5 on the south coast. Our Spruce Up Jamaica program is designed to ensure that the communities in which our members of parliament operate are driven with a tourism element. And so this community tourism vehicle that First Man spoke about is something that is really important to us. And it helps in the changing of attitudes, inclusiveness of the people, and the idea is that it is supposed to provide our people with a piece of the pie, because everyone has to recognize that tourism is for them. There's no way that we can have an industry that is driving the economy in the way it is, and our average Jamaican does not feel that they are a part of that. And that is a part of our thrust. We're getting our people involved. And it is indeed a part of the mission of the TPDCO that every single Jamaican should feel that they are a part of this product. Think about it. People come to Jamaica for our people. That is critical. The UNWTO conference is on its way in earnest, and the minister will give greater detail on that. But the idea is that it is geared towards building greater private-public partnerships for sustainable tourism development. And if you think about what sustainable tourism is, it is talking about ensuring that we are allowing present generations to enjoy while conserving for future generations. And at the heart of that is equity. And so it's intragenerational equity as well as intergenerational equity. So within our space and our time, we want to make sure that everybody has access to the resources that are here for our utilization, but also we're thinking that we must ensure that those who cannot preserve it for themselves, the future, will have a piece of this wonderful Jamaica as a tourism destination. So emerging new markets, as I try to move very quickly through, there's gastronomy, there's music, there's sport, there's heritage tourism, faith-based, and I'll go into each of these very quickly. So the gastronomy traveler. We feel that if you can tap into gastronomy, there are many other things that you can get from the gastronomy traveler, because if you look at the statistics that we have here, it says that 70% of them enjoy bringing back regional food, recipes, and wines to share with friends and family. That's critical. 85% of those who travel for food just enjoy learning about local cultures as a broader part of what they do. So if you're trying to involve people and to ensure that the tourism dollar is spreading throughout the economy, certainly gastronomy is one of the ways that you'd want to do that. Gastronomy offerings, just a few examples, and I want to particularly focus on Devon House because Devon House has been launched as a gastronomy center, and we hope to make that an even more robust effort because we feel that there's a lot of benefit to be had from our offerings. Volunteerism. So this idea of engaging in an excursion, but not just an excursion for the sake of fun, but excursion with a purpose. Skills training, sharing your own skills with locals, education, planning, helping those with great ideas to bring that to a stage of structure. Wellness tourism. So it's an idea about looking and feeling better, and for many people, getting smaller, losing weight. The idea that most of the people we're trying to tap into are big spenders, and therefore it is fair to assume that these are individuals in high-stress jobs. So managing that stress. And we have the product that can deal with that. We have world-acclaimed spas, Milk River. Yes? Bath, fountain, and hotel and spa. These are initiatives that require greater partnership. These are initiatives that require greater assistance to get them to the standard that all of us can be proud of. Sports tourism. Again, Linkage Network will deal with that. But if you think about the individual who's interested in sports, it's almost representative of the thing they're interested in. They're enthusiastic, they're energetic. They want to engage in some of these activities that are different from what we would call our psychocentric traveler who wants a more all-inclusive package type. And this is the individual that we want to be able to reach out to. Heritage, number of examples. Falmouth, ripe and ready for that. Georgian-style buildings and the like. Faith-based tourism, also room for that, also room for your involvement in that regard. And we could not leave the music out of the picture. Our music is something that is so far-reaching and impactful throughout the world that it is for us as a people and for you as the diaspora to understand that there's a role for you to play in helping that connection to take place between the music and the tourism. Ecotourism, low impact, also higher spending, and that's what we want to achieve. Community tourism. I like to speak of community tourism as not a form of tourism as many people like to, but rather as a vehicle. I think community tourism just means what it says, the interaction of the people with the host community. And many forms of tourism can achieve that. But we want to see community tourism as a vehicle that will get us to that destination. Mentioned these types before. And so a JTB license is something that is a stamp of approval from the Ministry of Tourism. We facilitate the process of assessments, of holding hands, and it gets even better because we're not just leaving individuals and entities to figure out how they will become licensed. We have a process, a community tourism department that deals with holding the hands of individuals, getting them to a point where they can be licensable and be ready to, as First Man said, to be export ready. And so how can you participate? There are some initiatives. We have artisan villages that are intended to come on stream, 5 across the island. First one, Falmouth, then Ocho Rios, followed by others in Montego Bay and Negril and Port Antonio. But I put the attractions offerings here for a particular reason as I wrap up. I think if you really want to get involved, the way to go is attractions, 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 and helping the ideas to come to fruition. That's very important. Nobody goes to the Grand Canyon for a hotel. People go to the Grand Canyon. Nobody goes to Arizona for a hotel. They go to Arizona for the Grand Canyon. And they go to Italy for the architecture. And they go to Paris for the Eiffel Tower. And they find a bed close by to stay. So we have to drive this attraction thrust. We're looking for angel investors. There are many brilliant ideas. We're not short on ideas. Individuals, as we've discovered, are filled with wonderful concepts. They need your assistance to get to that next stage. What we're short on, in many cases, are the resources to get them to that point where they can really feel that they are benefiting directly from the industry. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I see the end sign in front of me. So as a result of that, I will be obedient. And I will pass the baton on. There will be a chance for discussions later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Spencer. So again, we hear it's not just sun, sea, and sand. We're seeing opportunities all around wellness, sports, heritage, faith, music, and all the likes. So we need to exploit, do more where that is concerned. So let me not steal the thunder of any other presenters by saying anything else. I'm going to bring on Nicola Madden-Gregg. She's the head of marketing and sales for the Courtley group. And Nicola will tell you a lot more that you want to know about tourism. Nicola?
All these people with height. Morning, everyone. Okay, let's see if not up yet. All right. My role actually today is not in my substantive paying job role, but in the volunteer work that the minister has given me, which is as the chairman of the Gastronomy Tourism Network and a member of the Tourism Linkages Council. This council has been in place for, we're going on about close to 4 years, Minister, under the previous government, and then reinvented and given a little more gas under the current minister. So it's been quite an interesting ride for all of us in this Linkages Council. I'm just going to fly through this quickly because Minister will speak to this more. But, tourism is something that is very impactful. And a lot of times in Jamaica, sometimes we think about tourism in a very negative light. As First Man said, and I won't use the term that he did, but you know where he was going with that. We in tourism believe that it shouldn't be something that is foreign to us. It's something that's very natural to us, and it's something that we should embrace as a people and utilize it in the best possible way to drive economic growth and development for our country. So every other country in the world is clamoring to make tourism a part of their growth strategy. And Jamaica should not feel that it's something negative at all. We should really embrace it. Of course, just one data that I'll pick up, the rest I'll leave to Minister, is that this year, last year we drove over 3 million tourists to the island, and this year, I know he'll tell you more, we plan to drive a lot more. But specifically, I want to talk about the Linkages Network. The Tourism Linkages Network has added 5 pillars, and these 5 pillars are gastronomy, sports and entertainment, knowledge, health and wellness, and shopping. And why did we do that? And why did the minister assign us this task? Really what we found over the years of doing business in tourism is that, yes, we are very good at sun, sea, and sand. We are extremely good at all-inclusives. Jamaica created the first modern all-inclusive, and we should own that 100%. But at the same time, we have so much more as a country. And we figured that we need to leverage those assets in a more meaningful way. So we have what we call Room Only, our EP product that traverses the island. And part of our growth strategy is to look at not only the all-inclusive, but also the EP hotels. And as we mentioned earlier, Airbnb and some of the other entities that have come forward really cater to that market. I have been selling Kingston for 20 years, and that's definitely our market. And what we realize, especially with Destination Kingston, that it is about the destination. It's definitely not about the hotel. People want to come, enjoy the attractions, enjoy the activities, but where they sleep is just a secondary decision. So how do we tap into all of this that people want to do? People are changing. They're more like wanting to live like a local. They want to have local experiences. Everything is about personalization and customization. They want to feel that when they reach into a destination, they're really not a tourist, but they're one of us, and they're home. And that is something that we can easily deliver in Jamaica by focusing on the assets that we have. So, as I said, I'm going to jump over this one because time is against us. This is our policy in terms of the Tourism Linkages Council, but as I mentioned earlier, those are the networks. I wanted to focus first on gastronomy because that's the hat I wear. Gastronomy or culinary tourism is something that is growing exponentially across the world. There are many countries that have taken this as a lead. Peru, for example, is like the #1 gastronomy destination this side of the world. And they have leveraged all the different regions in Peru, all their natural assets, and it has created a real big push for them where persons are traveling just to eat from other Latin American countries. What it has also seen is a backward linkages, and that's what linkages is really focusing on. In that, they have developed now, if you go into Florida, who is here from South Florida? I'm sure you have seen a lot of Peruvian restaurants popping up, right? We have done that with Jamaican food, yes, and we do have Jamaican restaurants in the international market, but we tend to have them at one level. So, we typically have a fast food, casual dining sort of thing. What we're saying is that we need to elevate our food to the next level. Peru, Thailand, and all these other countries that have used their culinary prowess go from street food right to fine dining. And what we're focusing on in Jamaica is how do we do that here? So Devon House is our first gastronomy center, and that was launched this year. But we also launched the Blue Mountain Culinary Trail, which includes all of the coffee experiences, farm-to-table experiences, having experiences going into gardens and farms that deal with lettuce and herbs and spices and really local grown things that are really essential to that gastronomy experience. And what we say is Jamaica has all the elements for a gastronomy destination. We have territory, we have natural and historical resources. We have our cultural heritage, we say out of many one people, but in this case I'll say out of many one food. We have sustainability, we have the quality. We need to communicate more. Cooperation I'll jump back to. And we have marketing through JTB, which we partner very aggressively to push not only gastronomy, but all the networks. I was going to quickly show you this slide. This is the Cambridge World History of Food Index. And it talks about those countries that are known for particular food items that they would say have a stamp. Where do we think Jamaica ranks there? I'll start giving you a hint. 6, most people saying 6. So France is a big culinary destination, right? Everyone wants to eat food in Paris. They have 9 items. Who else we have? Sorry, I have to do this. China is the #1 with 60. 6 is England, not Jamaica. Somebody said last. Jamaica's the last. Oh, Lord. Scotland, one of their food items is Scotch bonnet. So that doesn't really belong to us. Barbados, 4. 3, Cuba. And Jamaica is 11. That is pretty decent. So we do have what we call, we need a clap for that. So what are some of the items that fall in this 11? We have plum, cherry, ginger, Blue Mountain coffee, And that is just to name a few. But what are we doing with these items? How do we create depth in terms of the type of menus that we have? Typically, we know the traditional Jamaican foods, ackee and saltfish, stew, peas, this, that. But when you go to the other countries that are strong in gastronomy, you go into a restaurant and that menu is sometimes 20 pages deep with local cuisine. We still struggle to get past maybe 20 main courses, and I'm going to count breakfast. And that's something that we have to say we need to improve on. But what are the opportunities in gastronomy? Well, definitely, we do a lot of food festivals. So sponsorship and or development of food festival and other culinary events is something you should definitely get involved in. We are seeing really some good events coming up that is driving visitors to the island, driving business on the ground, and really driving economic development. What about building out food trails and tours in your communities? Again, we did the Blue Mountain Culinary Trail, but the South Coast is ripe for some sort of a culinary experience. We're looking at that. And there are other elements that you should look at. Devon House, our first gastronomy center. Who wants to develop and invest a high-end restaurant, maybe with a Michelin star chef? I'm sure we could find one that is Jamaican or of Jamaican heritage. That, again, is an opportunity. Franchise partnership. We have one, our chairman, actually, of the Linkages Network, is now partnering to bring Starbucks to Jamaica. But the important thing about bringing Starbucks to Jamaica is that they are going to be serving Blue Mountain coffee, not only in the Starbucks here, but in more of the Starbucks in the international market. So again, the backward linkages in terms of export potential. So what's important? Cooperation. For us in gastronomy, we're looking at partnerships with UTech Heart. We look to support Taste of Jamaica and Taste of the Caribbean, which are culinary festivals that raises up new talent. We want to expand Jamaican dishes, expanded ingredients, participate and appoint culinary ambassadors, not only in Jamaica, but overseas. I know I'm running out of time, but I'm going to go fast. In health and wellness, mentioned before, development of spas, spa towns, all-in-one wellness resorts, sports and entertainment. Particularly, I want to mention this. Our Linkages Network this year did a partnership with all the carnivals promoters in Jamaica. And we saw Carnival this year increase significantly in the number of events that were held, the number of persons who traveled in for the event, and also it really grew our visitor arrivals. And we're not only going to be doing that with Carnival. Again, that's an asset that is maybe somewhat foreign, but is also Jamaican because we have made it our own. I think Carnival is now 30 years deep. But Reggae Month is another one that we're focusing on, which is normally in February, and building out a much more massive event. So sometimes cooperation is key and partnership is key. We don't always have to compete against each other when we have events. We can look to leverage all the events that we have. Shopping, we're looking to develop more high-end shopping facilities, work with local designers as well to showcase local designers in inbound stores and throughout. And investment in our local designers is critical because we have a lot of really talented people, but what they need is capital on one hand, equipment on the other hand, and access to markets. So definitely that's something to look at. Our knowledge network is looking to really build out more meetings and conventions, not only here at the conference center, but at the Montego Bay Conference Center and throughout the island, but also looking at, from a knowledge point of view, investing in startups that solve technology challenges for the tourism sector. Because we in tourism, we use a lot of foreign technology. It drives our business, distribution channels, online marketing, all of that to get visitors here. We tend to buy that service from a lot of foreign companies. And there are talented people that are coming up in Jamaica now who can offer that service. For example, for gastronomy, we are developing a mobile app and website which will be able to give anybody coming to Jamaica an opportunity within a radius to tell you everything that there is to do in terms of a restaurant, a bar, a farm-to-table experience, a culinary event, and it's being developed locally with the latest technology. So we have to partner within the networks. Some of the partnerships include protection of intellectual property, working with agriculture and manufacturing for farm tours, fruit markets, factory tours, Merchandising is something that we don't do very well in Jamaica, but there's a lot of opportunity for merchandising and building out products that can be exported. Health and wellness, nutraceuticals is obviously a very hot topic. And we're looking at the Montego Bay Hip Strip, which I'm sure Minister will expand on in terms of its redevelopment, but looking at it with all the elements in the network. So gastronomy, health and wellness, entertainment, sports, and putting all those elements in a space so that people can enjoy it. So my quick recap, there are 5 pillars. And last but not least, we want you to get the word out. Going with a little technology and social media. These are the hashtags that we push. So please write them down, use them, spread the word, and ensure that Jamaica moves not only to the #1 gastronomy destination in the Caribbean, but all our 5 pillars and our 5 networks will continue to grow, and we will own the space throughout the Caribbean in sports, entertainment, health and wellness, and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicola. So we heard 2 more. Knowledge tourism and shopping. I think we can again exploit those 2 opportunities there. So you remember we started Sun, Sea and Sand. We're gone way down the road now to knowledge and shopping. Gastronomy is a nice one. I think everybody here loves food, and people love Jamaican food. Anytime you go abroad and you talk about Jamaican, they ask you about the jerk stuff, right? So we're going to have to build on that. So what we're going to do now, one thing before the minister comes up, the Canadian delegates are asked to meet in conference room number 4 immediately following this session and before lunch. So maybe some special lunch for the Canadian delegates. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the minister to make his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barrett. Distinguished ministers, members of the diaspora across Jamaica, it really is our pleasure to share today with you and to quickly congratulate you for a very successful biannual conference that has become a fixture in our calendar. I think that we began in the right note by providing the more granular aspect of our policy and our output from the industry. And perhaps I wanted to just for the next few minutes, and you will forgive me because I did have a full presentation for you, but unfortunately I have a very important signing of an agreement with regards to our global conference on job creation and inclusive growth that your wonderful little country is hosting in Jamaica, November 27 to 29. Thank you. And we have more on that for you. We have brochures and booklets for you. We're going to have enough to distribute, hopefully for everybody before you leave here, so you'll get a good sense of it. So you'll forgive me if I give you some macro and then leave you to have further discussions with this very able panel who will guide you through particularly the call to action, which is really what we're about today. So, looking therefore then at tourism as the important and perhaps the most important contributor today to the economic development of Jamaica. Indeed, the country's tourism sector has expanded by 36% over the last 10 years when compared with total economic growth of 6%, which is to say that tourism has grown 6 times the rate of growth of the economy of Jamaica. So direct contribution of tourism to GDP is estimated at 8.4%, while total contribution is estimated at 27.2% of GDP. Tourism remains one of our few labor-intensive sectors and directly employs over 106,000 Jamaicans, while generating indirect jobs of another 250 Jamaicans. That is, 1 in every 4 Jamaican is employed or connected with tourism. And it is linked with all the sectors: agriculture, the creative and cultural industries, entertainment, manufacturing, transportation, finance and insurance, electricity and water, construction, and other services. Indeed, what we like to define tourism as really a series of moving parts, which must be connected seamlessly to create an experience that people buy. Last year, 1.2 billion people traveled across the world and spent $7.6 trillion to buy these experiences. So between January and December last year, let's see how we fared in terms of that. Jamaica's tourism grew by an unprecedented 4%, as we welcome over 3.84 million visitors in total. Estimated gross foreign exchange earnings for the period January to December 2016 amounted to $2.55 billion, up 6.2% over the last period. The stopover earnings, that is those who come to stay overnight, was $2.4 billion, up 6%, and the cruise passengers earned $148.6 million, up 8%. The indicators for 2017, which are very important for you to note, shows that we are on course for a record-breaking year this year, as tourism revenue earnings is estimated at $1.84 billion, have increased by over 8% for the first half of this year compared to last year. The country welcomed 2.517,674 visitors up to the 21st of July this year, which is 4.8% higher than the corresponding period last year. And the earnings, which is now at $1.8 billion, is 8.8% better than last year to date, which means that we're on track to earn for this year $2.8 billion US, by far the largest contributor to the foreign exchange of our country. In spite of these prolific numbers, however, the Ministry of Tourism and its agencies and other key stakeholders are never complacent, and we continue to revamp and intensify our strategies to identify key drivers of competitiveness and sustainable tourism for Jamaica. One of our main thrusts for achieving sustainable growth in our tourism sector has been our effort to identify and aggressively target, through our tourism linkage network strategy, 5 niche markets to promote diversification. You've heard about them, and I expect that you will ask further questions with regards to them. And those we have indicated to you. And the reason we have done this is a point that I want to focus on for the next 2 minutes in this presentation. Because I gave you the figures concerning arrivals, and I gave you the figures concerning earnings. And then you're going to be asking the natural question, okay, what's the retention? How much of the dollar that we earn stays in Jamaica? That's the big question. And I want to give you in terms of global numbers, first of all, very quickly, so you understand where the world is. Now, the global average retention for tourism earning is 20%. That is to say, 20% of the dollars earned stay in the receiving countries. And the Caribbean is at the world average of 20%. Jamaica, however, is at 30%. But we are below the Dominican Republic, which is at 50%. And still below India, which is 60%, which is the highest in the world. So we have to look at how do we reduce the leakage, and the strategy is to build the linkage, hence the linkage network. And what we talk about in tourism is that we represent, just like in accounting you have debit and credit, so we have production and consumption. The consumption of tourism, because we're an export sector, is done outside of the country. And so the production side belongs to us. We, the people of Jamaica, must produce the inputs of tourism to enable the local consumption to happen, not the foreign consumption, which we don't control. I.e., we don't control the airlines, we don't control the international marketing, we don't control the platforms and the apps that are out there. But what we control is what the tourist eats when he comes here, agriculture. What we control is what the tourist wears when he comes here too. What we control is the experience that we give through our food and through the nutraceuticals. What we control are the great, beautiful attractions that we have that they also consume. Our parks and markets and our ecotourism, our community tourism. So what we have to do is to build the capacity of our people to produce those things that are required. And consequently, the dollar stays here. Because we are not able in most cases to invest in the multi-story hotels and these mega hotels that are around. We can't invest in these mega ships that come here and the jumbo jets that come here. So we leave that to foreign direct investment. And we focus on the things that we can do and do well. Entertainment and sports. We do that very well. So we need to build the capacity of our people and the infrastructure required to enable them to provide these services. And this is where we appeal to our diaspora. We have some numbers in terms of the fact that, and you know those numbers, that more than 3 million of you are dispersed all across the world. 1.6 million of you in the United States, 800 million in the UK, 300 million in Canada, and 250,000 elsewhere, 300,000 in Canada, etc. So when we look at all of that dispersance, we understand where our market is. And the truth is that 11 to 15% of the tourism arrival in Jamaica is from the diaspora. So diasporic tourism is vital to us and is critical. That means $250 to $300 million annually is generated from diasporic tourism for Jamaica. And that's significant. But we want you to get involved in the experience, because it's our experience. We want you to get involved in the networks, as you have indicated there. We want you to get investing now in gastronomy, in shopping. Shopping, we haven't even tipped the surface of shopping in Jamaica. We need to be able to expand our range of offerings in this area and to bring some of the brands, the big brands, into Jamaica, the Gucci's and the Prada. We need to bring those brands here to lift the spend, because that's how the dollar is going to be retained in Jamaica. So I just wanted to make the point to you that today's big takeaway, and you have all the wonderful panel here that will deal with some of these, and you forgive me because I do have to move on to the next program. But the diaspora for us is a market, a powerful market. 11 to 15%, earning $250 to $300 million every year. The diaspora to us is a source of influence in the marketplace to drive through word of mouth and also to by the utilization of technology. In the social space, as you know, 2.8 billion conversations are happening in the social space every day. And you are able to manipulate that very well, particularly the younger members of the diaspora. And tourism's future is going to be dictated by technology. The level of disruptiveness that is happening in tourism today is unprecedented. New economic models, sharing economies emerging to define ownership structure, different kind of ownership structure. So you are going to be able to own much of the rooms in Jamaica without even being here, as Airbnb is doing all across the world. Airbnb controls and have access to over 1 million rooms across the world today, and they don't own one. And so you can become involved. Earlier on, the stock exchange people came here and had discussions with you. That's an opportunity for listed companies in tourism to be invested in by you through the stock market. We want you to get into the business of investing in tourism, but take your head out of hotels. Take your heads out of planes. Take your heads out of ships. Put your head into these 5 linkages here we speak about: gastronomy, agriculture, manufacturing. Let's provide the soaps that the tourist needs. Let's provide the oils and the fats. Let's provide the pillows and the sheets and the blankets. Let's provide the beds that they need. Let's provide the chairs. In other words, let's provide the pots and pans and cans and kettles. And once we do that, we will be like Domrep, 50% retention. We will be like India, 60% retention. And I want to close by telling you now that when we earn $3 billion in Jamaica, and at current retention level of 30%, we will be having $1 billion retained in the economy. That's huge. Then we will begin to feel the flow-through effect of tourism in the economy of our country. But our projection is $5 billion by 2021, and to bring 5 million visitors. And we are on track to do that. And our projection is to lift, through the linkages, the retention level from 30% to 40%. Do the math, and you will realize that if we get now 5 billion arrivals, we'll be retaining $2 billion in our economy. And at that time, we will be retaining, on a net basis, more than the diaspora, who is at 2 billion. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Very, very insightful presentation, Minister. Some of the details we heard just now, I'm sure some of you have heard them before, but every time he says them, believe me, I feel even more inspired. Now, I like the one with the 5 and 5, 5 by 5 by 5, right? $5 billion in earnings in 5 years from 5 million visitors. I think we're at 2.3 point.
This year will be 4.2.
We'll be about 4.2 this year. So we're well on our way to getting there. And the stopover is actually improving to, I think stopover is now at 2.2 or 2.3. 2.5. By the end of this year.
That's the projection for this year.
Absolutely. So we've seen some really good things happening in tourism, and I think we really need to press on that. I want to highlight a couple of points quickly, because I think we'd love to get the Minister a question or two. The first one is about the retention, and us trying to get to 30%. We're at 30% now, we want to get to 40% by next year. That retention is a big thing for us because you know it has implication for the dollar. You saw recently where the exchange rate was, it was appreciating, and now suddenly it started to appreciate. So the fact is, the more we earn, the more the currency will appreciate, and the strength in the dollar is really good for us, right? So we need to get that retention level up. The other point I want to highlight, because I hear a lot of talk about it, is financing. You might have heard that just a couple of weeks ago, well, maybe just last week, a company in the tourism business got listed on the local stock exchange. Express Caterers. They raised just under $500 million Jamaican dollars on the junior market, and they just got listed last week. They were oversubscribed like about 4 times, and if you'd like to know, the price of the shares have doubled since they've started trading. So there is plenty of opportunity, for companies who are in the space looking for financing. I think people just want to know how you're going to make it work. Express Caterers did a really good job of showing how they will make money. Express Caterers is they operate in the Montego Bay Airport, And I'm sure there's a company that's going to come to operate in the Kingston Airport. So the point is there are opportunities all around in the tourism space. Margaritaville Turks was an opportunity in the tourism space recently. We're seeing a lot of things that are happening in this space that can be funded locally, and we need to, participate. And I say we to include the diaspora, because a lot of times I speak to people in the diaspora, and they ask, how can I invest in Jamaica? And the minister just pointed it out. You don't have to own the hotel. Airbnb owns not one single room, right? And they're the biggest player.
And their value is $67 billion.
Absolutely, $67 billion, right? So we're saying the biggest player owns not one room. And it's the same thing. You don't have to own a restaurant. You can participate in the ownership of a restaurant. You don't have to own the attractions or the stores, right? You can just be a part owner in them. Absolutely. Dolphin Cove. How many of you know about Dolphin Cove? They're listed, right? They have 2 really nice properties here. So the point I'm making is there are plenty of opportunities around for you, the diaspora, to play a part in. And you just need to kind of realize that it doesn't have to be on your own. Do it as a part of the group. The other points that I want to, highlight from the minister before I take some questions, and if you plan to, the minister will take 2 questions from you, right? Because he's running late. So if you have questions, you can just start lining up now, right? And it's only 2, and it's going to be really, really, really short. But I want to drive home the point about technology in the tourism space. A couple of years ago, you remember you used to have to walk to a travel agent and book a flight and all that kind of stuff. None of that kind of stuff is done anymore. It's not because we don't like travel agents, but technology has taken us to a different place, right? There was a time when you used to ask, where's Jamaica? People come into Jamaica now, say, boy, they look on a website somewhere and they saw something nice about Jamaica, and they're in Jamaica. So I'm saying technology has changed the game. So let me not say much more about it. I'm going to take some questions, really short questions, the ones for the minister first since he has to leave, and he said he had some really good persons working with him who could answer the other questions. So let's go quickly. Minister's questions first, 1 quick question at a time. Absolutely. So the minister is willing to make the full text of the speech available to you all. So, yes, he didn't get to say everything that he wanted to say, as you know, because of the time constraint. But let's take 2 quick questions for him. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. My name is Paul Harrison. This is directed to the minister delegates. Very good presentation. Thank you very much. I represent a clinic in Montego Bay called Zerlich Dialysis, which was launched last year. We just celebrated our first year. I remember last year the minister talking about health tourism, and this is something that we believe in. So my question to you, Minister, is I believe health tourism is a great opportunity. We've got an amazing website which we launched, www.zerlichdialysis.com, and we've been targeting all the hotels, and we're actually getting new people logging in on the websites and making Jamaica as a choice of their destination because of the quality of website that we have. We've made it like a Bupa-style website.
All right. Sorry,
I'll finish, but I just wanted to say to you that if we could assist Zerlich Dialysis, because we're getting people logging in from Canada, America, and the UK that have never chosen this place as a destination. Because when you think of terrorism, etc., in Europe, and people with medical conditions, we have to change the perception.
All right. So health tourism.
So this is why I'm asking the minister: can you support us in promoting health tourism, Minister Ed Bartlett?
Okay.
That's the answer. I have a meeting with Paul Harrison. I know the team.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next question, ma'am. Identify yourself and then ask a question.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Nadine Williams, poet and author out of Toronto. I have a gastronomical question. I've had the privilege of staying at 2 resorts over the last 2 weeks. And a couple of things. There's just so much food. I'm popping out of all of my clothes. I can't fit. But what systems might be already in place or can be in place for all this excessive food, like so much food being filtered out to like the local folks? That's one. And the second half is the culture of the servants kind of like, yes, my lady. It's the most annoying thing to hear in 2017, yes, my lady. Like, Is there something that can be done, retrain the industry to stop saying, yes, my lady, in 2017?
All right, so we put the minister, you want to take those?
I want to start with the first one, the last question first, because I think that question speaks to a certain type of psychic, which I appreciate our wanting to divest ourselves of this whole notion of servitude and service. But it is a real issue that I believe we need to educate our people on. That to be courteous, to be kind, to be civil, and to respond in the very most courteous style is a value and not to be deprecated. So we have to divest ourselves of that notion of servitude in the industry. The first one, of course, is about the excess food. I share your view. As a matter of fact, I tell you what I do in my area. I have a monthly luncheon for the indigents in my constituency, and I move around some of the hotels and actually pick up some of those, because they are fabulous food that is on the buffet line. Excellent food. And what they do with it is perhaps to discard it and to become part of the wonderful, did first man say, waste industry? Otherwise it becomes rubbish, right? So the difference between rubbish and waste. So your point is well taken. I believe that we can do better with that. And I'll move it forward. Good idea.
All right, thank you very much. I think the minister will have, you have another minute or you will have to leave now? Just one quick question for the minister. Yes.
Okay,
Twitter
so
style.
can I ask? Real quick.
Ladies first.
Good day.
I hear you.
Good day, Mr. Minister and panelists, and welcome members of the diaspora. I'm Michelle Clark. I'm a realtor, and I'm on the North Coast. I'm Kingstonian originally. I moved to the North Coast. I love my country, and I love tourism, and I love to sell my country to persons who want to buy Jamaica. And I want to say thank you for sprucing up Ocho Rios. I see it, and I welcome it. I've been praying for it, and I pray for its sustainability and maintenance, sir. I'm thankful too for the increased number of DCs that are on the road. I still see a high amount of harassment, and it's something that it's an ongoing issue, I understand, and I'm just touching you to remind you that it's still ongoing. I have a suggestion, two in fact. I'm suggesting that we start by educating our children in terms of the importance of tourism to our nation and the proper disposal of garbage, and why it's important to us and why it's important to our ecological system, so that we can preserve what we have. So I'm suggesting that we introduce tourism in the curriculum, even from preschool, so they understand, they come up with that knowledge from that age. I'm also suggesting, I did a course last year as a realtor, so I specialize in second homes and tourist properties. And one of the things I learned is that bird watching is a multi-million-dollar business in the United States. Over 60 million Americans go someplace to do bird watching. I want them to come here. I want them to come here because we have indigenous birds. I love bird watching, so it caught my attention. So, and if anybody wants to find the lands for it, I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Since that's the last one, let us again start at the back end. Yes, wonderful. You know, we do have sanctuaries, and we are promoting it. Nicola will tell you more about that because it's part of the linkages. But she's quite correct. These are very important niches in the market for which there are a big demand. And what these niches do is to enable a psychographic profile that we can tap into to broaden and diversify the flow of visitors into our country. Thanks about the responses of Ocho Rios. We're delighted, much more to be done. We're working to even make Ocho Rios more delightful and more acceptable and more appealing. The issue of, which I wanted to just raise while you do that, about ownership and broadening the base of ownership that involves the diaspora. Airbnb as a disruptive economic model has provided a new opportunity for broadening the base of ownership. And there's a huge real estate opportunity for you to invest in townhouses and in apartments to be accessible on the Airbnb platform. Jamaica will sign an additional agreement. In fact, we have a framework agreement now with Airbnb, but that framework agreement relates to data mining. That is, they collaborate with us to give us access to their platform so we can have good data for our marketing. We are going to meet with the chairman in San Francisco next month to conclude another agreement which will enable economic collaboration to help us to build out certain of the important destination assurance strategies that we're pursuing. So we see that these sharing economy strategies are useful entree into broadening the base of ownership within tourism. Embrace it. Thank you very much. I know my team will be here with you, and they are well fortified to deal with all your issues. Remember, November 27 to 29, Jamaica, your beautiful little country, will be hosting the world in Montego Bay. You'll hear more about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Bartlett.
I'm sorry, can the Minister speak real quickly about the vacation ownership timeshare industry? I know parts been passed just last year. How does that fit into what will be happening in the tourism sector here? That's the largest sector of
Quickly,
tourism.
yes. Timeshare, as you know, is the original sharing economy. Right? Because long before Airbnb, there was that concept where you could have shared ownership. You can buy time, and you can buy weeks and days, and so on. The policy is now fully in place in Jamaica, and the legal arrangements to enable timeshare sales has been put in place, and Parliament has approved it. So we are open and ready for investment in timeshare.
Thank you. First Man and Doctor, let's speak to you after, if you don't mind.
Okay, yes, you can speak to them afterwards. Okay, so 2 quick questions. We're trying to close up by 1 o'clock, so Twitter-style questions and answers now, from here on.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. My name is Jackie Watts. I'm the president of the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce of Georgia. My question actually was for the minister also, but
yes, good deputies.
I'll ask it to the panelists. Back in 1974, as a young child, I flew to the United States, and the most beautiful aircraft ever created was Air Jamaica. We absolutely missed the class, the Jamaican food, the champagne, the fashion show, the service, and the branding, wonderful branding for our country. And of course, every time we drive up here in the bus in the morning, we see the building across the street.
Jamaica, yes.
And it brings back a lot of memories. I wanted to know, what is a chance of us bringing our airlines back to Jamaica?
Nicola, you have an answer to that? Nicola will attempt to answer that.
I don't want to speak for the minister at all, but I think where we are now in the industry, there are opportunities for, and there are actually 2 airlines that are locally owned that are trying to launch. I won't get into who it is or what, but there are 2 that are currently trying to relaunch as private investment. As you know, there is a joint partnership with Jamaicans and Guyanese, which is Fly Jamaica,
But I don't know if in its original form you will see another airline that is a national-owned, Jamaican-owned airline and funded by the government. I think where you will see, because of how the industry is going in terms of the airline industry, you will more see private sector involvement and partnership. And we do know right now there are 2 groups that are looking at investing in the airlines, and one is fully Jamaican-owned. Yes, and DG Carol Guntley is reminding me we still own 16% of Caribbean Airlines, which, yes, we do. I understand everything you're saying, and we all feel the passion for the Air Jamaica, but I don't think we're going to see that return anytime soon. I'm not in the government. I can't answer that one for you.
All right. So we'll ask the minister that when we see him later at Devon House, right? Okay, next question, quickly.
So the minister talked about retaining percentage of US dollars by providing services. I was wondering if there are any initiatives for incorporating medical marijuana for Jamaican visitors. Example, Canadians already getting prescriptions, but when they come here, that's a conflict because they may be, if they try to buy it on the street, if they run out of their prescribed amount, they may be jailed.
Okay, do we have anybody on the panel who could answer that? Okay, so that Professor Ying is telling us that that was answered yesterday. And tonight, again at Devon House, you may see the person who could answer that question. Okay, Nicola wants to comment on the bird watching.
I don't see her now, but bird watching is already happening and has been happening for many years in Jamaica. There are really 2 specific things that happen. They have the land birds and the seabirds. A lot of the groups come into Kingston and then go over to Portland, and they do the Palisadoes Strip, where they look at the seabirds, and then they go into the Blue Mountains and experience the land birds. I know personally from our group of hotels, we host somewhere between 6 to 7 groups every year. It's obviously something that we need to get out there, the other sides of Jamaica. Just like we have surfing, we have, hiking, we have all these activities that are non-traditional in terms of sun, sea, and sand. And I think that's what we really need to get out there, that Jamaica is really a diverse place. There are tremendous lists of things that we can do. And we, as Jamaicans and those in the diaspora, need to deepen our conversation. So when friends and families or persons ask you, where do I go when I come to Jamaica? Do not go to the fallback position of go to the North Coast. I mean, yes, you can say that too, but expand the conversation beyond what everybody already knows, which is we have great beaches and we have nice rivers, and go a little deeper into the conversation. Ask them what is it that they want to experience. Because as we said before, travelers are looking for lifestyle experiences. So let us not let Jamaica be put on the shelf that only speaks to sun, sea, and sand and beach. Let us be able to be put on so many other shelves in terms of adventure tourism, culture, heritage, health and wellness, medical, missions. We have missions that come in, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So it's really getting everybody to have the understanding that we are way beyond sun, sea, and sand. We have the products. We have the products both in terms of hotels, accommodations. We have the products in terms of attractions. We have community developments like the Rastafari Village and so many more things that encompasses the diversity of what Jamaica's tourism product is. So we hope that you will leave with that message and help us get the word out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicola. And our time is up. I will close by saying, though, that the 5 by 5 by 5 really got me. And I think if we all here, I keep saying we all, because I'm including the diaspora in the we. I know you can't vote, and I know a lot of you don't want to vote, but I also do know that you have supported the Jamaican economy, and I know you will continue to do so. So let's see if we can strive for 5 by 5 by 5. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
All right, while we take the panels don't leave, we have the final session, final plenary for the day. You have done very well for the last 2 days. So please hang in there. Panel, could you come on stage, please? Kimon, Dwight, Simon. Most of the jobs you are in now are not going to exist in the next 5 years. This session will tell you what you're going to do when you lose your present job. But please don't leave.
That's a compelling way to get them.
Simon, I was going to introduce you and leave you in charge.
How are you doing? You're holding up?
Yeah. Where's Dwight? Could you speak with the panelists off stage, please?
Still speaking and saying stuff, because, you know, stuff needs to be said. Mic check, mic check. All right, that concludes the third session for the morning. We're now well into afternoon, actually. And the last session we just went through, we were speaking of driving economic growth through tourism innovation, a role for the diaspora. That was the question that was asked. The Honorable Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism, he presented. Mrs. Nicola Madden-Gregg, Chairperson of the Gastronomy Network and Linkages Council member, also presented. We had Dr. Andrew Spencer, the Executive Director, Tourism Product Development Company, TPD Co., and Mr. Edward Ray, Rasta of the Indigenous Village. We spoke about quite a few things. Some of the main points that came out were the protection and the promotion of our country and our culture for tourism. And community tourism was certainly promoted, not necessarily just a package that is made for people to come and experience, but to actually live how Jamaica lives, you know, and the people who work there own the product. One of the big ticket items was also the gastronomy tourism, the food of Jamaica becoming a product all over the world, but especially in Jamaica. We learned of the 5 pillars on which this new strategy is being built: knowledge, gastronomy, sport and entertainment, shopping and health. We're going to another session now, and this one, the topic is every posse must work in the digital arena. This one seems to be focusing on ICT, digitization, and the future of work. All right, we're wrapping up and rejoining the main presentation.
Machines are already conducting data mining for lawyers and writing basic press releases for news stories. And in coming years and decades, the technology is sure to develop and encompass even more human work activities. The good news is that machines can't do everything, at least not yet. To be as productive as it could be, this new automation age will also have to require a range of human skills in the workplace, from technological expertise, essential social and emotional capabilities. Very, very important that we understand that we're in a period of absolutely radical change. We're in the 4th industrial revolution, and therefore we have to contemplate what took place in the first 3 revolutions. There was massive displacement of workforces, and new jobs and employment were created. So let us not fear, but fair. So I'd like to take the opportunity now to not introduce our panelists. How about that? Because, again, I think their bios have been circulated already. But we have Professor Dwight Elliott here, who's adjunct professor at Seminole State College. Sanford, is that correct?
Yes, that's in Orlando.
Sanford. I know where Sanford is, just outside of Orlando, that's correct. And we have Ms. Kimon Gooden, who's lead for the Jamaica Diaspora Agriculture and Technology Task Forces in the U.S. I think you're based in California, is that correct? Yes, very good. All right. It's amazing what you can find on Google nowadays. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to ask Professor Elliott to join me. Professor?
I do my best. Where is Peter going to click the thing?
There should be a red dot. You have to
Peter Gay. Okay. Does he have it? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Oh, good afternoon now. Past lunch. Okay. Again, I'm Professor Dwight Elliott, and this is my first time returning to Kinston, where my mother put me on the earth 47 years ago. And I'm so excited to be participating in this nation-building effort for our beloved country, Jamaica, and that has produced and prepared so many of us for success. I guess my topic is up there. Like I said, it's talking about the Jamaica Digital World Tour succeeding as a digital worker in the global digital economy. First thing, I'm going to try to go as fast as possible. You're right next to me, so you could tap me right. At first, though, I got to just take just 1 minute and give thanks, number one, to the government of Jamaica that's doing the heavy lifting that it takes to lead this country forward. Secondly, to the Jamaican Diaspora Committee, who was engaged in the hard work, coordination, and execution to put this conference together. And, of course, maybe Corey White and, of course, Sharon Saunders, who are terrified with that 43-page PowerPoint slide initially. They're like, you're not going to get through that in 10 minutes. And thanks to my mom and dad, who's given me a wonderful opportunity to do and prepare me for success in this field. So I have to give that shout out. And Trelawney, at 10 years old when I left Jamaica, I grew up in school. I went to school in Trelawney, Stewartown All-Age School. And the teachers who taught me to dream and to become the professor of law and technology that I am today. I am forever grateful. I have to take a moment to say that. Now, I have to. Okay, so now let's move forward. You go ahead and go to the second slide for me, please. Yeah, let's move forward. All right, so we're going to focus on IT roles and responsibilities, okay, mainly, and the digital era itself, and we're going to talk about moving forward. Okay, go ahead. All right, you could go to the slide after that. Move from, exactly. All right. For some homework, I'm not going to go into the details. We are where we are in 2017 because of three main components. You got to look at the evolution of the internet. You got to look at the telecommunications law of 1996 that was passed in the U.S. the year I got my master's degree in telecommunications from Syracuse University. I never knew the significance of it then, but I now know it. And that's one of the reasons why we have to be here to talk to the government of Jamaica, because with the correct use of the legal system, we can promote a lot of commercial activity. And that's what happened with the Telecom Act of 1996. Anyone in here, just for the sake of me being the professor moment, anybody remember the first web browser? What was it? Huh? Okay, the answer is on the screen. I do it to my students all the time. Netscape, all right. So you might not remember that, but that's key. All of that background led to what we have called global e-commerce today. Okay, so if you ever want to know more, talk about it in class on it. Go ahead and move forward. I just want to give it. Now, the core question of today, your main question that you want to take away, that you want to answer for ourselves as well as the young people coming up today. In the past, when we were coming up, we were talking about, you go around the world and you become the best doctor and lawyer that you want to become. Well, now we're talking about what role are you going to play in the emergence of technology? So many different areas. And let me mention a few key things for you if you're doing these things, because we are what we do with our time, correct? That's essentially, if we are what we do with our time. So there are a couple of things if you want to be a digital worker versus a digital consumer. One, are you communicating using your technology for business most of the time? Ask yourself that question. Or digital consumers, are you communicating for just personal reasons on your cell phones? Then you got to ask yourself, are you calendaring appointments? A digital consumer, they don't even, I say to my students, do you have your appointments for the day, for the week inside your calendar? Some of your goals written up? Digital worker, browse websites for what? Business purposes, primarily. Digital consumers browse websites for what? Social purposes. Digital workers, they're doing academic research, using ebooks and online libraries. Digital consumers, I always say to my students, hey, you listen to scandals, dramas, bad news, fake news, whatever it is, then you probably do more digital consumer work. Digital workers are concerned about what? Their online professional profile. And I'll break that down a little bit more later. And then digital consumers care about their online what? Social media profile. You know, like me on Facebook. I don't know how or Twitter or whatever it is, they want you to like them. You know, I don't know how you're going to meet, get people to like you and you've never met them in person, but that's something else. Online professional network, online friends, Facebook, Twitter. So online shopping is a digital consumer. If you're a digital worker, what do you do in terms of online, in terms of finances? What is your life like? Direct deposit every 2 weeks. That's the one I would suggest, okay? And I have a program for that. I've gotten a lot of people. And I tell you, when I was a dean, I have over 300 people when I was a dean for 5 years who I trained to be online professors. I would say probably 20% of those people really listened, and some of them are now making over $75,000, $100,000 US working from home sometimes. If you listen, the opportunity is out there, but you got to have the skill set. So let's move forward. Go ahead. I'm going to roll through this. What, is that 5 or 6? Okay. All right. Okay, I'm just throwing this. Customer relationship management systems, one of the biggest areas of MIS. You know, if you want to get into this area, you should study up on what this means. You know, take a MIS program or MIS course, major in it, because this is an area. So let's just take a look at one industry. We could talk about, actually go to the one that says, okay, let's take on education. The one that says education, MIS, and its impact and e-commerce on society. In education, anyone can tell me some business examples of how MIS or e-commerce is changing the way the education industry works? Anyone? Okay. Well, most important, the biggest area probably is online education, the emergence of that. So you have technology-enhanced classroom, hybrid courses, audio-video integration into the classrooms. Students are now engaging in written conversation online. And, of course, they have asynchronous and synchronous modes. These things should mean something to learning management systems. Anybody in here could tell me about a learning management system? Anyone? Share? Anyone have one? There's Moodle. Moodle, okay, and that's free, so that's where we start. But you should get to know Canvas. You should get to know Blackboard, eCollege. These are systems that you should get to know. Okay, go ahead. Move forward. All right, I just want to make sure that we cover some of the key areas. Now, again, like I said, in the past, we talked about pushing our children to become doctors and lawyers. Still keep doing that. But you should add on different areas, like becoming a CIO. That's Euro, right? Okay. He's CIO for Grace Kennedy. So what does a CIO, for example, think about? Oversees all the uses of IT and ensures the strategic alignment of IT with business goals and objectives. Broad CIO functions include he's a manager, or he or she is a manager, ensuring the delivery of all IT projects on time within budget. He's a leader, or she is a leader, ensuring the strategic vision of IT is aligned with the strategic vision of the organization. Of course, most importantly, high communication skills, building and maintaining strong executive relationships. Okay, the interrelationships, what do they think about in terms of relationships? They think about things like throughput, transaction speed, system availability, information accuracy, web traffic, response time. So all the programmers, all the network administrators, all those individuals fall on the CIO and work with them to create, IT solutions for the corporation. Other roles, and I'm not going to go into or break all of them down, is CIO, Chief Technology Officer as well, Chief Security Officer. What would that person be concerned about? Okay, but yeah, be concerned, about all the security, cybersecurity issues. Chief Privacy Officer, perfect for my background. Years ago, when I was getting a master's degree in technology and now a law degree, people are like, why would you get a technology degree and then get a law degree at the same time? Now, that is exactly why they would hire me to do that, and they always looking to hire me for that. Privacy Officer, you're concerned about the legal and technology issues intertwined. Chief Knowledge Officer for the company, okay? Keep on going. So those are roles that you think about. I'm trying to get to the slide what everybody loved the most. They want to know where do you get to. Okay, let me mention that real quick. Yes, here are the things you should think about. Usability, customer satisfaction, which is the key, right? Conversion rates, meaning that, hey, if you go to the website, how many people are booking a trip to Jamaica? How many people are booking versus the other country? We just saw that in the last presentation. So we're getting a lot of hits. Okay, people are giving reviews of the site. And financial, of course, the bottom line at the end of the day. But let's get to the slide that everybody likes to know. What does the CIO and individuals in that field at the executive level get paid in general? In some industries, it varies. At least this is U.S. information. for example. But maybe we came from here. We became the doctors and the lawyers and all around the world. So we could still aspire for these roles one day anywhere, maybe even here in Jamaica, around the world. In the wholesale industry and retail, for example, a CIO on average could earn $243,000 a year. Finance industry, $210,000. Insurance, $197,000 on average. Manufacturing, $190,000. Medical field, $171,000. Government, $180,000. Education, $93,000. Sound like half decent money? It's a pretty good living, right? But again, you got to have the technological background. You got to have the degrees. You got to have the qualifications. You got to be prepared. You got to be ready to make it happen. Let's keep going further. Let's skip over the IT roles and responsibilities section. Let's get to the digital era and IT careers slide, so that I could just kind of mention some of the jobs where you could actually start. Those are the high level. Yeah, I guess that's the one. Where can you start? So if a student is at University of West Indies or any school, where you could start is jobs like programmers, right? Software developers, network administrators. This is where you could actually start. I started off as a programmer. IT help desk, system analyst, computer. You see the list. You have it there. If you want to know more information, we have a table up front, and we can go over that. Web designers and all that good stuff. That's where you can start. And then eventually, you get very good at what you do. Sometimes they promote you to lead other people within the organization to do that. Okay, so then you also have, I have a website. I have some websites that you can browse, because what I found when I was dean especially is that I was amazed at how many of our people, we got to the point where we got the degrees in the U.S. and different places, but we really didn't understand the system. Really didn't understand how to navigate the system, know how the industries work. So you should actually be studying, applying. I've applied, I can't tell you, I probably have 50 to 100 different versions of my resume. Okay, we got 2 coming, no problem. So my thing is this, but I'll be remiss if I won't mention some important skills, because I see my students coming at the university and it makes me cry, and I can't tell you how much character, ethics. When I had nothing, I had the integrity, I had the character. I kept a smile on my face. I was personable, I was kind. And because of that, people wanted to work with me. They wanted to deal with me. They wanted to give me a chance. They wanted to, and when they gave me a chance, if work started at 9 o'clock, I was there at 8. If work started at 7, I was there at 6. These are the type of attitudes you got to have to excel and make it at this level. If I give you a project, you got to deliver. I don't care if it's 500 or 5,000, okay? Because the money and the opportunity is there, but you got to have the ethics, the morality, the courtesy, the discipline, the compliance, meeting deadlines, being patient. These are the things I got to mention. So I'm here to tell you I would love for the money to just keep falling out the computer screen, but I'm here to tell you need to make sure that you're ready and prepared. So let's discuss, last thing I'll mention, I think I got a book list there, okay? And if you want to read some books about it, you can skip over those. No big deal. I just want to, yes. First of all, my suggestion is a good book. If you don't know what that is, I think you should check it out. It's called the Bible. I think you should start there. It's a very good one. It took me a long play all over the world and gave me a whole lot of solutions. So start with that one. So secondly, there's a book called The Borderless World, Kenichi Ome. If you want to really learn about the emergence of the borderless world that we now live in, a global competition, please read that book. Okay, Mr. Alibaba, okay, Jack Ma, anything he writes, anything he talks about, he's the owner of Alibaba. He started off as a school teacher, multi-billionaire now, coming out of China. You need to study up on him, okay? And of course, don't do anything without the motivation about your own history. Go back and read all the Garvey books, all the MLK books, Miles Monroe, all those good things to help inspire you, motivate you, so you connect what you're doing to your culture. And everybody who knows me, I'm here today because of my passion about my culture. And I'm here back, and there's a table up front, and we're making it happen. You can see us up there, and there's 2 or 3 people who had jobs just out of this conference, just by me showing up here today. So the last thing I want to say, the way forward for the Jamaican diaspora is the Jamaica Diaspora Partnership Action. I see yesterday the Education Committee, if we're going to say I'm going to partner with them, is the formulation of an online education and digital e-commerce industry global partnership committee for our education and business policy development. Online education, training, and advancement for Jamaican schools and universities. This issue of online education is not going away. The integration of technology in the classrooms is going to be, and matter of fact, it will create global business opportunities for you. Take it seriously. Okay, and the innovation to citizens and youth in the digital and e-commerce arena. I have students from all over the world right now working for me and as well as other partners that I know doing digital e-commerce projects. Okay, but you got to have the skill set. So let's talk about partnership with anyone and everyone who wants to make it happen. And I wish you all the best. I thank you for your time. And the Aston Brosox, our company, is right up front, and we talk about it more later if you would like to. I appreciate being of service to you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. What I'd like to just highlight, there's a lot of fear out there around what's going to be happening in the next several years as traditional jobs get displaced by automation, robots, and so on. But I heard an interesting statistic actually just this morning. ATMs have not actually displaced the number of tellers working in banks in the United States. I can't comment about elsewhere. The stat didn't speak about that. What's happened is that people are using ATMs, but the persons at the front counter of the banks are now upselling you, the customers, in all kinds of services that weren't available years ago because technology didn't allow it to happen. So things are changing, job roles are changing. We have to adapt and adopt our skill sets over time. And the largest challenge, the biggest challenge, if I could say that, let me be careful, is that we do need to recognize that some of us who have a little less hair are closer to the end and closer to retirement, probably don't have to reskill as much. But our 18-year-old selves today, they have to really work at it, and we have to be there to support them. The beautiful part about that is that it's available online. It's also wonderful that you can work here in Jamaica and provide services anywhere in the world that you want to. So you have to have that vision. What tool set can you have in New York to help Jamaica, and Jamaica help New York? I'd like to now turn it over to Ms. Kimone Gooden. Kimone.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to be here. So my presentation today is on digitization and the gig economy, opportunities for Jamaica and diaspora-owned businesses. For the business owners in the audience and business owners in your network, I really want you to pay attention to what I'm going to say. I think this could be very useful for you. And of course, all protocols observed for the distinguished members of our audience. Can we move forward, please? So I am actually part of the Jamaica Diaspora Technology Task Force, which is a group of technologists in Silicon Valley. I live in Oakland in the Bay Area. And we started to basically combine forces and look at how, using our collective experience, we could actually help Jamaica. And we realized that in many cases, members of the task force employed virtual resources, but none of us were employing those resources in Jamaica, and we didn't understand why, and what we could do to facilitate diaspora-owned companies, diaspora-owned small businesses, actually leveraging Jamaica for a virtual resource pool. And that's a big objective of the Technology Task Force. Next slide, please. So I thought, oh, I didn't see it, thank you. Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. So I thought it would be useful to start out by defining what the gig economy is. It's kind of a funny sounding word. But really what it means is it's a labor market characterized by the prevalence of freelance and virtual work. And there's a statistic actually that by 2020, 40% of jobs globally will be in this gig economy format. So the old days of salaries and full-time and going into a company, in a brick and mortar company, 9 to 5 is really days of the past. And so in 3 to 4 short years, we'll see almost half of all work being in the gig economy. And what that means for business owners is that digitization is really changing the future of work. So there's a huge opportunity for business owners in the diaspora to leverage virtual resources and freelance talent to save costs and perform work in your businesses that you'd normally have to hire someone locally in your neighborhoods to do that. And as you look at how you can leverage virtual resources and freelance talent, it's also important to look at how Jamaica can be a source for those virtual resources and freelance talent. So let's talk a moment about what are the benefits really of looking at creating a virtual workforce. So first of all, it's really a true win-win. You know, you hear win-win all the time, and it rarely is really a win-win, but it really is. So from a diaspora perspective, it actually is significantly cheaper to hire a resource in Jamaica versus a resource where you are. Sometimes 2 or 3 times cheaper, and I'll go into that in a minute. You also have lower operational costs. So you spend less money on office space if you have a virtual resource, right? You don't have to put them anywhere. And you spend less money on your local payroll taxes. From a Jamaican perspective, from an economic development perspective, you're actually able to hire Jamaicans in Jamaica. So you don't have to worry about visa, you don't have to fly anybody anywhere, right? You're actually participating in the country in creating jobs from where you are back home. And this is not a new idea, right? So multinationals have been taking advantage of virtual talent and offshore resources, et cetera, for years. But what the gig economy is doing is really democratizing the opportunity to leverage virtual resources. There are over a dozen platforms, Freelancer, Upwork, et cetera, where you can go on today in 2 minutes, put in Jamaica, and you'll see dozens of talent available right now for you to get work done today. And so that really is the new part. The part of the virtual and the offshore piece is not that new, but now small businesses can really take advantage of the opportunity. And as members of the diaspora with an affinity to Jamaica, we can really put our efforts to Jamaica versus Asia, etc. So let's look at the costs for a moment. So I actually looked at the minimum wage in the US, in Canada, and the UK, compared to the traditional wage for a BPO employee. And we heard from the BPO teams yesterday. And there's a great report that JAMPRO has produced that goes over those rates in detail. I won't do that today, but just so you know, we did the comparison. And for the US, it's 200% cheaper to have the same resource in Jamaica than it is in the US. In Canada, it's 250% cheaper, and in the UK, it's 300% cheaper. So that basically means you spend 2 times the cost for a resource in the US versus having someone in Jamaica, 2.5 times in Canada, and 3 times in the UK. So it really is a significant operational savings for business owners and folks who own startups. For the business owners in your network, this is really important information that I really encourage you to share. And so as you think about, as you're listening to me, you may be wondering, okay, what does that mean? How can I really, if you're not already doing it, some of you probably are, how do I take advantage of this opportunity? So I wanted to share some examples of diaspora-owned businesses we're very familiar with in the Technology Task Force that are actually leveraging this model. So from a virtual assistant perspective, and that's the most common type of digital resource, there's an insurance brokerage that has their receptionist that used to be in their brokerage in California that now has that person in Jamaica on Google Voice answering calls. So when that person calls in to say, how much is my auto insurance rate, how much it gone up, and they call the same California phone number, it actually rings to Jamaica, and then that person is answering those calls for that insurance brokerage. There's also an e-commerce store that has their customer service rep in Jamaica. So versus, once again, having someone in the US, they have someone in Jamaica answering, what status of my order, when is it going to ship, all of those things that you can access online. So that's a good example of a virtual resource as well. A politician who hired a social media manager in Jamaica. So, you know, being a public figure, you have to maintain your brand, etc. There's no reason that that person has to be in front of your face. That person could be remote, and that person is responsible for her social media accounts, her emails, etc. That's another excellent example. Now, on the specialized side, that's a kind of a personal assistant, virtual assistant category. On the specialized side, there's an architecture firm in California that hires someone in Jamaica to do CAD designs. So it's not only kind of low-level assistant work, but it's also specialist work. There's also a startup that hires virtual artificial intelligence, machine learning software engineers. So really high-level talent virtually. And on the project-based side, you can hire talent to do your logo design work, to do, transcription for you, to take care of research, data entry, etc. So as you can see, the gamut is pretty wide. So no matter what kind of business you're in, there's some amount of work that you're doing, that your company does, that could absolutely leverage virtual resources, and I'm encouraging you to look at those virtual resources in Jamaica. So there are a couple of things you'll want to consider, right? So if you have a fully traditional model where all your staff is in front of your face in your office, you know, you don't want to just jump right away into moving virtual. You want to think about what that mix should be like. So some companies have 100% virtual. They don't have no office space at all. Everybody works remotely, and that works very well for them. Others go half and half. Others have some division, depending on the kind of business you're in. If you have a restaurant, certainly it won't be 100%, but maybe there's some front office work or back office work, I should say, that you could do virtually. So you want to think very purposefully about what that mix should look like. And then once you figure that out, how can you leverage Jamaica for that talent? So whatever that work is that can be virtual, how could Jamaica be a source for that virtual talent? And are your needs project-based? So are you a marketing firm that just needs somebody to do some flyers every once in a while? Or do you need someone more diligently part-time or full-time, and what those needs should be? And what level of expertise do you require? Is it more of an assistant? Or do you need a specialist, as I mentioned before, where you need like a CAD designer or an engineer, et cetera? But I think I went to the wrong side. My slide is gone. Did I do something wrong? Can you pull up my slide? Oh, thank you. So I finally want to end with some resources to get you started. There are many, many platforms available for you to look today at what talent in Jamaica is available online. A really big one is called Upwork.com. That's UPWORK.com. Freelancer.com. That's freelancer.com. And Fiverr, FIVER.com. So those are the general platforms available to everyone. That you can go in and actually search where the resources are located. And given our commitment to Jamaica, you can actually look for those resources in Jamaica to hire those resources. Now, specific to Jamaica, you heard from JAMPRO earlier. JAMPRO provides some support helping find virtual talent and leverage your own networks. I hire 3 virtual resources in Jamaica. The first one I hired, my sister went to UTech. She had a friend that was in between jobs. Use your networks. Those are very powerful as well. But beyond your own networks, there's JAMPRO. There's a new Startup Jamaica community you heard about earlier that has a wonderful pool of engineers that do freelance work as they're trying to build their company. And then there's a new organization, Institute of Law and Economics, that's looking at how to leverage the youth into this innovation technology area. So finally, we're here to help. Some people, this is old news, and this is great if it is. If it's not old news and you need some help, the Technology Task Force exists to facilitate this for you. So you can reach us at jdtt@callingalljamaicans.org. And my personal information is kimwongooden@gmail.com, and my information is on the slide here. And if you're a technologist yourself and you want to join us in doing this really important work, please, we welcome you to join this growing group of global Jamaican technologists. That's it for me. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Kimon. Okay, I guess time for some questions. Are there any questions? If so, please go to the microphone. And if I see no one rushing to the microphone, I'll start counting down. Okay, I guess everybody's hungry for lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating. Appreciate it. Oh, sorry, yes, I have a question coming. I guess I moved too quickly.
It's not a question, it's a recommendation, may I?
Go ahead, sir.
My name is Lyle Young, I'm from Minnesota, I teach for a living. This is for the professor who spoke first. I'd like to add 2 books, if he doesn't mind, to his list there. And I just finished reading them both. They're by the same author, Robert Kiyosaki. He's Hawaiian. And the first one I read was The Business of the 21st Century. And the second one is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I would say those are a must read. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I added to the list and put on the website. Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir?
George Edwards with the letter E Group here in Jamaica. My comment is really just confirming what I heard from both of you. I started a BPO, a technology-based BPO in Mobay in January of this year. And I've leveraged umpteen freelancers to build my website, to do my marketing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it can happen. I lived in Toronto, Canada before. I ran a business there, but decided that Jamaica was where I wanted to be happy. So that's why I'm here. But more importantly, you can do everything from Jamaica. Like, you can do everything from Jamaica. Technology just makes life so much simpler. So thank you again.
Thank you very much. Kimon?
So I forgot one small thing in my rush to get us out of here on time. I'd like to acknowledge a member of the Technology Task Force. His name is Devon Lewis. Devon, could you please stand up? He's from Jonestown. He's now the owner of a network engineering company in Texas, and he's here at the conference to investigate hiring network administrators in Jamaica. So thank you for being here, Devon. And a wonderful example of the opportunity for us in the diaspora and for Jamaica from an economic perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Kimona. Okay, so let me just again hit you with the announcement I did at the beginning, which is the 5 sessions that are starting immediately following lunch. The first one is Global Young Leaders of Jamaica Forum, which is to be held in Conference Room 2. Special interest group meetings. The first one is Crime Intervention and Prevention in Caucus Room 2. Jamaica Stock Exchange will meet in Caucus Room 3. Healthcare will meet in Conference Room 5. And Education will meet in Caucus Room 1. Please note these are new room assignments, so that's why I am announcing it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. Really appreciate it. Have a good rest of day and rest of conference. Thank you very much. Just in parting, I am also part of the diaspora because I actually lived in Toronto area for 17 years. I woke up on New Year's morning, not hungover, and looked in the mirror and says, do I want to be dead and buried here? And the answer was no, so I came home. And that's 24 years ago, so more power.
Let me thank Simon and the panel. Could you give them another round of applause, please? They had an awesome task of bringing the plenaries to a close. Please remember to come back at 4:15 for the closing plenary, when everybody will come back together. You're all going to be in special interest groups now, but after that at 4:15, we're all going to have a final gathering and have a good send-off. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch.
Right, so that was a great session. This one examining how both young and senior members are navigating the hills and the valleys of the digital era. It also looked at the creative and innovative strategies for members of the diaspora to respond effectively to the fast and the continuously changing technologies. One of the real keywords today was disruption, Lorraine.
Yes, and we also learned that you can work in technology from anywhere. You don't have to physically be in Jamaica to work with ICT. You just need a computer or a device that can connect to the internet, and good internet connection.
Crucial, good internet. And internet in Jamaica has now reached the point where almost from anybody you get it. It's good.
And our connectivity is great as well. We have almost island-wide coverage. We're not quite there yet, but we have a number of Jamaicans connecting to the internet, whether with smartphones, tablets, and so on.
Most certainly. And, you know, the penetration of the devices means that almost everybody has access. Once upon a time, ICT was sort of like available to people who could afford it.
Only the elite or...
Everybody has a phone now.
A smartphone.
Right. And once you have internet data, you can get out there. You can get on Upwork and those freelance sites, and you can actually bring your Jamaican brand to the world.
All right, so the presenters for this session were Professor Dwight Elliott, and he's an adjunct professor, Seminole State College in the USA. We also heard from Ms. Kimone Gooden, who is the lead on the Jamaica Diaspora Agriculture and Technology Task Force, and she's based in the USA. The moderator, of course, was Mr. Simon Roberts. He's the Chief Information Officer of Grace Kennedy.
Yes, and I don't know if you can hear the drums in the background, but the delegates have exited. We're breaking for lunch and the usual lunchtime entertainment. We thank you for watching. We'll be back after the lunch break. Again, when you return, please don't forget to share. Don't also comment where you're watching from, whether it is outside Jamaica or what parish you're watching from inside Jamaica. And please join us again for the afternoon session.
And we just may have a treat for you, so please come back with us. We may be hearing from Simone Edwards, the Jamaican hurricane. She's the first Theodore, the first Caribbean and Jamaican player in the WNBA. So we really look forward to that.
And she really has made a great go of it, Lorraine. She's now a motivational speaker. All of these wonderful things. It's great to see our people, our brothers and sisters, doing well in the international stage and coming back. That's what this whole conference is about.
Definitely. So do come back with us.
Absolutely. I'm Theodore Henry.
And I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thank you for watching.